Well, a very warm welcome from me, Phil Calvert. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate you giving up your time. I've got a lot of value for you today, so I hope you find it of real interest and something that you can take forward in your business. Today, we're talking about new era marketing for financial advisors, the rise of scorecards. And I'm going to explain what scorecards are and how they can fit as a tactic within your overall marketing strategy. So let's get stuck in. First of all, who's this for today? Well, it's for financial planners and advisors who want to learn more about marketing their services in general. For financial advisors who've heard about scorecards, but they're not really sure what they are. For advisors who already have a scorecard, but perhaps need a bit of a reminder as to why they've gone ahead with it. And finally, for those that already have a scorecard and really want to leverage it much, much more in their business. Many of you who know me will know that I have been pitching scorecards as a marketing tool, as a lead gen tool. But what I hope you'll discover as we go through this today is that it can be so much more than that, to the extent that it is a tool that you can use in a variety of different ways across your business at different times in the relationship with clients. So it's not just for lead gen. You will find when you stay with me for the whole of this presentation today that really what you've got yourself is a powerful and valuable asset of your business. So before we go any further, just a little bit of background on me as to why I'm the one that's doing the presentation today. I worked with product providers for about 22 years, started in 1978, started as a broker rep, an inspector that used to call on a panel of financial advisors. I had thousands and thousands of financial advisors in my panel. Eventually went up the ranks, became head of national accounts at Zurich Life. And after that, I had a variety of head of sales and marketing roles with some other leading providers as well. So very much on the provider camp for the first half of my career. Since then, for the last 20 years, I've been an independent consultant. I speak all around the world to financial advisors, and in fact, to those in other regulated industries as well. I've presented to easily over 1 million financial advisors worldwide. I do training, workshops, one-to-one and group sessions. Some of you may have attended them, and I've also written a few books as well. Outside work, I've been playing golf since the age of 5. Both my parents had played golf. They met at a golf club. Then I got into kickboxing, took my kids to do kickboxing, got into it myself. Really, really enjoyed that. I'm a photography nut as well. Some of you may know that I used to do rock concert photography. And since the first lockdown, I've always been passionate about magic and illusion. And during the first lockdown, I really decided to get stuck in and to learn sleight of hand and to learn a few tricks inspired by the likes of Shin Lim and David Copperfield. And I'm now starting to use some of these techniques in my live presentations. They don't work quite so well over Zoom, but next time that we meet up in a training room, I'll be including some of this as part of my presentations. But they also inform my interest in marketing as well, because a lot of magic is about sleight of hand. It is about distraction techniques, and you can apply many of those techniques into how you use marketing in your business as well. And finally, my claim to fame is that quite a long time ago, for 1 year, I was officially the best gin and tonic maker in the world. Many, many years ago, I was on a photography trip with our local photographic society, and we were up in the Highlands of Scotland, and we were taking photos of the beautiful scenery up there. And one particular evening, we went to a whiskey tasting session, and I was sat next to a gentleman. I'd seen him in the camera society, the photography society before, but I'd never really spoken to him. So I was able to spend some time with him. And he sat next to me and he said, "Phil, are you looking forward to the whiskey tasting this evening?" I said, "Very much so." And he said, "Yeah, but it's okay, but you don't want to drink that." And I said, "Really? Okay." And he said, "You want to drink gin." And to cut a long story short, for the next hour of our journey, he told me literally everything you could ever possibly want to know about gin, in particular, gin and tonic. And as we approached our destination, in the last sort of 15 minutes of the journey, he sort of leant a little closer to me and got kind of confidential. And he said, "Phil, would you like to know how to make the world's perfect gin and tonic? And I said, yeah, I'd love that. I tell my parents, they love a gin and tonic as well. And over the next 15 minutes, he proceeded to tell me exactly how to make the perfect gin and tonic. And again, to cut a long story short, this gentleman's name was John Tanqueray. Yes, as in Tanqueray Gordon. He was a great son, I think, grandson of Charles Tanqueray, who founded Gordon's Gin. And that's why he knew everything there was to know. And a couple of years later, by pure coincidence, by pure chance, I saw an advertisement in the Evening Standard in London for the World Cocktail Making Championships. And I thought, well, I'll enter that. I'll enter the gin and tonic competition. And we all descended on a hotel one Sunday afternoon, and all the top barmen and women and cocktail makers from around the world descended. I'd entered the gin and tonic category, and bizarrely, I won it using this particular approach that Mr. Tanqueray had taught me. So I would imagine that one or two of you would like me to spend the next hour talking about gin and tonic, but I will talk just a little bit more about it because there is some relevance as to why I mentioned this. Again, during the first lockdown, my mother was having a bit of a clear out, and she'd been married to my dad for about 50 years, and she found in a drawer this little booklet, little leather-covered booklet, only about 4 inches long. And she, in their entire married life, had never seen him open it before. She knew it was there. She'd never seen him open it before. But it was his. It was something that he loved, something that he treasured. And she sent it to me in the post and said, I think you would probably like this. And so I thought, it just looked gorgeous. And I got in touch with the Diageo archivist, because Diageo own Gordon's now. And I said to them, look, I've kind of inherited this. Can you tell me anything about it? And I got a nice email back from somebody at Diageo saying, yeah, basically what you've got there is something that is 100 years old. And this is a marketing piece that Gordon's put out to fulfill two objectives. Objective one was to add value to existing customers. Objective two was to attract new customers into the world of Gordon's Gin. And as you can see on the cover, it's a little book containing recipes for cocktails, and beautifully put together. And they used to give this away in off licenses and one or two pubs back in the day. And I occasionally dip into it. A lot of the cocktails are quite old school, but they're still very nice. But it's a lovely, very, very simple marketing tactic, and something that is going to be a little theme that runs through this presentation today. The importance of marketing that both attracts new people, but also is strong enough to add value to existing customers, existing clients as well. So what are we going to cover? First of all, how financial advisor marketing and lead gen is changing. The most successful financial advisor I've ever met. I'm going to show you the marketing tool that he used to use. How scorecards, I believe, are changing everything. And I know we are at risk of falling into shiny object syndrome. But the more I look at scorecards, the more I realize that what we have here is a tool for the modern age. But it is a tool that embraces the best of marketing techniques and strategies and tactics that already exist. It's really important that I make that point. Quite often when something new appears, a new bit of technology, it's just a permutation on a theme. But scorecards really do take marketing by the scruff of the neck and add a really clever modern twist to it. And those of you that know me will know that I've been pitching scorecards as a lead gen tool, but the more I've looked at it over the last year, the more I've realized it's not just a lead gen tool. It is a powerful asset of your business that you can use in a variety of different ways. And we're also going to be talking about, once you've got your scorecard set up, how you can go about marketing it so that you can really make the most of it. There is no point in investing in any kind of marketing activity unless your heart and soul is into it. So I really want to make absolutely sure that if you decide that scorecards are an activity or a tactic that you want to employ as part of your overall strategy, that you really do make the most of it. Okay, let's just have a look at some trends in what's actually been going on in recent times. And it's really important that financial advisors get on top of this. If you are not already, you absolutely must make sure that your marketing works on mobile devices. And I simply will not accept any longer from any financial advisor that your clients aren't interested in the internet, or don't go onto the internet, or don't have tablets, or don't have mobile phones. My mother-in-law is in her late 80s, and while she has the oldest of Nokia mobile phones, she also has she has 3 different tablets and a laptop, and she also uses internet services on her TV as well. So this idea that once you get to a certain age, you're not interested in technology and therefore it's not somewhere that we need to think about, it is just nonsense. Okay, and I make no apologies for saying that at all. We also need to think strongly about educational assets, how we market and promote our services using educational assets. What do I mean by educational assets? In their simplest forms, writing blogs, putting on educational YouTube videos, podcasts, writing books, writing white papers, special reports, anything that educates potential prospects and our existing clients as well. Personalization is really important as well. We'll come on to that, and how you can use personalization as well. You know, everybody in the world of marketing, in every single sector of industry, is talking about the importance of personalization. And that is really easy to do these days. And I'll show you how as we go forward. We really ought to be thinking much more about niche markets. What's very interesting to me is, whilst the vast majority of financial advisors say to me, no, we don't really operate in niche markets. And when I say niche markets, I'm talking tight niches, heart surgeons, dentists, lawyers, you know, that sort of niche. But we're starting to see a few who are going deeper than that. Heart surgeons in London, heart surgeons in Manchester, heart surgeons in their 50s. It's great to see that more and more financial advisors are beginning to specialize in this sort of thing. And what's been extremely interesting to me is those financial advisors who've been working with me on putting scorecards together. Their initial scorecards that they start off with is perhaps something along the lines of a scorecard that asks people in the form of a quiz, how ready do you believe you are for retirement or life after work? Something sort of broad and general like that. But once they've had it going for about 3 months, almost all of them have got in touch with me and said to me, Phil, is it possible to have another scorecard? We seem to have quite a lot of dentists as clients, and we think that a scorecard will be a great way to attract to more dentists. So, you know, never, ever discount niche marketing. And just being in one niche doesn't mean you have to just focus on one niche. As financial planners, financial advisors, you have a broad range of expertise in a variety of different areas. So there's no earthly reason why you can't have more than one niche that you focus on. Something else that I'm noticing, particularly from within our Facebook group, more and more financial planners now are beginning to look beyond financial planning. They have realized that financial planning, financial advice is not just something that's done between consenting adults, either in their home or your office, and they come and see you and you go through the financial planning process and they pay you and that's it. Many financial advisors are beginning to realize, actually, we could take the skills that we've got and the expertise that we have got, and we can create other products and services that will be of value to our existing clients or to perhaps a different type of client. For example, I'm seeing quite a few financial planners now who are saying, we've got about the right number of our traditional clients that we want to work with, but we want to now start moving into perhaps a younger market. That younger market isn't necessarily in a position to pay for our fees, but our younger market is in a position to be happy to pay for a subscription service on a monthly basis, perhaps, for financial education, either through webinars or through videos or through audio, something like that. So this is something I'm definitely noticing is a bit of a trend, and I'm absolutely certain will continue and grow. Events, You will hear me talk ad nauseum about the power of events, putting on, whether that's client events, seminars, workshops, webinars. I'm starting to see those happening again. And now that we're beginning to come out of the pandemic, more and more financial planners are talking to me about seminars and workshops for 2022 and beyond. The concept of dream teams. I'm going to talk a little bit about referrals and how financial advisors approach to referrals. But one way of looking at this is a concept I've heard talked about by a marketer, a guy called Russell Brunson, where he talks about the Dream 100, where you focus all your marketing efforts on just 100 people who just adore what you do, who are super fans, for want of a better word, and so that they become a dream team. They become your core referrers of business. Now, a dream team, in my view, and particularly in the world of financial planning, does not have to be 100 people. It can be 5 people. It can be 10 people. It can be 20 people. But it is a group of people that you put real effort and focus on. Some of them might be existing clients. Some of them might be professional introducers. Some of them might be journalists. They can be anybody. But it is a small, highly focused team of people who will literally bend over backwards for you. And you come up with a marketing strategy of communication with this small team that really embeds your value into their world so that they go out of their way to recommend you and refer you and promote you. So again, something relatively new, but it is incredibly powerful. And something else worth thinking about, your face. Yes, your face is a lot more attractive than your logo, believe it or not. Something that has come out of lockdown in a lot of marketing forums is the power of, human connection. Your face is so much more valuable than your logo. And using your face in as much of your marketing communications as you possibly can really is worth your time and effort. So if you haven't updated your photo on your social media profiles and elsewhere, now's the time to get out there, go get a professionally taken, friendly and professional photo and use it everywhere. Yes, put it on your business card, put it in your email signature, put it everywhere, okay? Use your face and get yourself out there so that people can see you. People buy people. We all know that. But one thing the pandemic has really thrown into sharp focus is the power of the human face. And, didn't we all miss seeing other faces? Seeing faces on Zoom is fine up to a point, but, we all craved getting out there and seeing real people again. So make the most of your face. And finally, better use of data. This is what scorecards are all about, and we're going to explore more about this as well. Now, I just want to talk, one example of how powerful a face can be. And it's this. Cristiano Ronaldo has more followers on social media than all the Premier League clubs combined. So your business, he's obviously got quite an attractive face. That's fair enough. But the point I want to make is we don't need to look like Ronaldo. We don't need to look like Brad Pitt. We don't need to look like Angelina Jolie. We just need to be ourselves. People buy people. So, let's make some effort to get our faces much more visible. Okay, so better use of data. Now, why is that important? Well, according to Inc. magazine, they said recently in an article, CRM tools, surveys, and interactive content will become increasingly instrumental to marketing success. Let me repeat that. CRM tools, surveys, and interactive content will become increasingly instrumental to marketing success. Guess what? A scorecard is all 3 of those. It's a CRM tool, it's a survey tool, and it creates interactive content. And as we go forward, I'll explain more about that. So what is a scorecard and why am I going on about it quite so much these days? Well, in answering that, let me ask you a question. How useful would it be for you to know the name and financial planning situation of everyone who visits your website? Do you think that would be useful? Well, of course it would. And not just the name and email address, not just when someone visits your website and it says, give us your email address, you can download our free e-guide. All you get is a name and an email address. What you don't get is the financial planning situation of everyone who visits your website. Now, I've got quite a lot to say about financial advisor websites, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute or two. But let's be honest. If you knew the name and the financial planning situation of everyone who visits your website, that would be useful to know, yeah? It also puts you in a position of power, immense power, because if you knew the name and financial planning situation of everyone who visits your website, that puts you in a position to pick and choose the clients and the prospects that you actually want to work with. One of the things I see about people who do marketing for financial advisors, they keep talking about shoveling leads into your business. Would you like, we can get you 100 leads a month. You see this happening on LinkedIn all the time. Oh yeah, pay us $1,000 a month and we can give you hundreds of new leads. And they promise that they're qualified. No, they're not. Okay. And what I know, one thing I know about financial planners is the overwhelming majority do not want hundreds of leads shoveled into their business. What they actually want is a few more of their ideal best quality prospects. That's what they really want. But if you actually knew the financial planning situation of everyone who visited your website, that then puts you in a position of immense power. That power being, you can then pick and choose who you want to follow up. I mean, right now, most financial planners have no idea how many people are visiting their website. They don't know how long they stay on the website. They don't know what pages of their website they look at. They certainly aren't picking up any data on the people who visit their website. I'll explain more as we go. So let me show you how I use this concept myself. I do a lot of marketing training, and in particular, I do a lot of LinkedIn training for financial advisors. And what I'm looking for is consultancy work, where I will work with a financial planner one-to-one, either on a one-off basis or over a period of 3 months or 6 months. And literally every single financial advisor that I meet on LinkedIn, I say to them, well, you're on LinkedIn, why are you using LinkedIn? And most of them say, well, you know, to raise a bit of profile, maybe find some useful connections, but ideally to find some good quality leads. So I always ask those financial advisors, so how is that actually working for you? And the overwhelming majority say, well, frankly, it isn't really, Phil. You know, I've had a couple of good bites, but to be quite frank, I think LinkedIn's a waste of time. Well, first thing I say to them, actually, LinkedIn is not a waste of time. Like any other software, when you know how to use it, it is just a powerhouse of opportunity. But then I go on to them and say, okay, well, you're on LinkedIn. Why don't we find out how well or not, as the case may be, you're actually using in? I've got a thing called the LinkedIn Health Check for financial advisors. It is a free online test. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to go through, and it will ask you a series of questions about how you use LinkedIn. At the end, when you've gone through it, it gives you a score out of 100, a percentage score, and it also gives you personalized tips on what you should do to improve your experience of LinkedIn. And I guarantee that if you follow those tips and use them on LinkedIn, you will see a remarkable and measurable improvement in how you personally use LinkedIn. So they go through this. This is a scorecard. You don't have to call it a scorecard. It's a quiz. It's an MOT. It's a survey. It's a health check. It's whatever you want to call it. But it's a series of questions. And they go through, I give them a free copy of my book, a guide they can download, and I point them to some other bonus content as well. Now, as they go through, the LinkedIn Health Check asks them questions about their LinkedIn strategy. Turns out most financial advisors don't have a LinkedIn strategy, so they don't score very well on that particular section. It asks them questions about their profile, how they communicate, how they network, what content they post, and a few other things as well. And the sort of questions my health check asks are things like, do you have a LinkedIn strategy? Yes or no? Have you personalized your URL? Yes or no? Have you done this? Have you done the other? Yes or no? And there's one or two multiple choice questions in there as well. and there's some sort of sliding scales. Simple stuff that doesn't take much thinking about, and at the end of it, they get a score. And let me put it this way. I have every single month hundreds of financial advisors go through my LinkedIn health check. Now, there's no way I can deal, and in fact, there's no way that I want hundreds of new leads coming into my business every month. But what I do want is to be able to pick and choose the ones that I think I can actually add some real value to. We haven't got time right now as to how I do that, but I mean, literally everybody who goes through my LinkedIn health check, they'll end up on my email newsletter list or my webinar list. And this is a GDPR compliant tool. So it allows me to do that. So basically what I've got is a situation where I have hundreds of people going through my LinkedIn health check. I've got hundreds of people going onto my email newsletter list. But each month I pick 4 or 5 people that have been through my health check that I think will work with me, that I can follow up. But here's the thing. In the dashboard, in the CRM section of my LinkedIn health check, I can see the answers to the questions that I've posted. So I can see the ones who said no to have they got a LinkedIn strategy. I can see the ones who said no, they don't thank people for looking at their profile. I can see the ones that have said yes or no to do you have a company page. Now, that means that when I follow those people up, I can follow them up in a much, much more informed way than ever before. I have got real data behind me so that when I pick up the phone and I follow people up, I can say, hi, John, or hi, Mary. Thanks for taking my LinkedIn health check. I hope you found it useful. Hope you downloaded the free guide at the end of it. Tell me, just out of interest, you scored quite well in this particular category and you scored quite well in this category, but you scored really poorly in the networking category, for sake of argument. And I noticed your answers gave a few clues away. Is that something you'd like some help with? Because I've got a few things that if you follow my advice, it will make an immediate and measurable improvement to your experience of LinkedIn. Is that something you'd like some help with? And 9 out of 10 people say, yes, I would, Phil, if it's going to help me get more quality leads. And then they say, how much do you charge, Phil? Or at least that's the direction of travel that I'm trying to take them in. So I'm using this tool as a way to give people instant value. In other words, it tells them how well or not they are using LinkedIn. And I'm getting all their contact details. I'm getting the answers to their questions, and I'm able to pick and choose the people that I want to follow up. So I've been using this myself for about a couple of years. And it was about a year ago. It was about the beginning of it was over a year ago now, isn't it? The beginning of the first lockdown. I suddenly woke up one morning and suddenly thought, hold on. This concept is just a no-brainer for financial advisors. And then I started putting some polls and some questions into our Facebook group, and I know 1 or 2 of you are members of the Facebook group. And one of the polls that I asked was, I think I might even have a slide for this. One of the questions I asked was, when you get a new lead from any source, whether it is a referral or somebody visited your website or somebody walked into your office, however you get whether it came from vouched for, unbiased, however you get a new lead, to what extent do you have to go back to them to find out more information before you can decide whether or not you want to work with them? And the answer was pretty well 100%. Almost all financial advisors said, well, yeah, regardless of the source of the lead, we need to get more information. And I thought, well, hold on. This scorecard concept, therefore, is the holy grail for financial advisors. Because let's imagine that the questions that you asked on your scorecard weren't how do you use LinkedIn, but questions along the lines of, have you made a will? How ready for retirement are you? Those sort of soft questions that you ask people when you meet them for the first time. Imagine if they filled that in before you ever spoke to them. How powerful and how valuable would that be to you? Well, of course, it would be incredibly powerful. So let's pursue this a bit more. And as I said right at the beginning, I have pitched this as a tool to generate new leads, and it does just that. However, what I've discovered in the year and a half that I've been talking about scorecard marketing to financial advisors is that different financial advisors are seeing it through different lenses. Some of them see it as a lead gen tool. Some of them are using it as an onboarding tool. So literally every single client, regardless of how they found you, they put them through their scorecard. Some financial advisors are using it as a kind of pre-fact find to filter out the clients they don't want to work with, or the ones they do want to work with. I've had several financial advisors say to me, Phil, this is just going to be perfect for the annual review. In fact, two financial advisors have said to me, the annual reviews are a bit boring. But by putting somebody through a scorecard every single year, this makes it much more fun, much more interesting. And what's really interesting is that we can follow and see how people change as the years go by. So maybe they've answered the questions in the scorecard one way, but next year they might answer them slightly differently, and the year after that they might answer them. So we can track a client's thinking as the years go by. A couple of other financial advisors said to me, we're quite fortunate that we've got good relationships with local accountants and solicitors, but the way they send leads and new inquiries to us is a bit haphazard. So we want to create a co-branded scorecard with local firms of accountants, and so that when they want to introduce someone, they introduce them to us through our scorecard. A couple of other financial advisors see this as more of a fun thing, where you don't just give people a score, but you can categorize people. So, for example, one financial planning firm is using this in such a way that somebody goes through it, and if they get one particular score, they equate that score to being an animal. So if you get a particular score, you are an owl, a wise owl. If you get another score, you are perhaps a fox or a lion, something like that. So different scores get different animals. So it's turned into more of a fun thing to do with clients. Other financial planners have said to me that they are quite proactively now looking to attract younger clients, and they've been looking for ways to do that. And I think I mentioned earlier that they want to offer younger clients a different type of financial planning service where they don't actually meet, but everything is done either online or through online educational services, videos, podcasts, and so on and so forth. So by putting people through the scorecard, that's the beginning of the funnel that takes them in. So by going through the scorecard, they get the score, they get their personalized assessment, so they're getting real value and insights, which makes it much more likely they'll want to purchase their educational program later on. And other financial planners are telling me that they are seeing their scorecard as just something to use as an asset in their value, that they sort of get out their kit bag as and when they feel it's appropriate. So just say to a client, here, try out, just go through our scorecard. You might find it interesting. It will give them real value and insights, but it also gives the financial planning firm real data that they can act on accordingly. In fact, I've identified 13 different ways that financial advisors could use a scorecard. So, my original idea of lead gen and marketing, I'm still very excited about that. But the more I've been involved in this, the more I realize that there's a lot more to this tool than meets the eye. Oh, and here we go. So here's the poll that I did with financial advisors. When you receive a lead, to what extent do you need further information? And look, the vast majority almost always need to get more detail, and hardly any always have all the information. So what's a scorecard? It's a question-answer analysis tool which sits on the pathway people follow when they are searching for advisors. I'll explain more about that in a moment. It's something that gives massive value to prospects before you've even met them, before you've even spoken to them. It then creates deep curiosity in your services. In the old days, a forward-thinking financial advisor would have a lead magnet on their website. Dreadful expression, but nevertheless, that's what it is. A lead magnet is a downloadable guide. Something simple. Give us your email address, download our free guide. The whole purpose of that is you're throwing a little bit of bait into the water that if they take the bait and they like the download, they think, okay, I'll pay a bit more attention to this financial advisor. This is a lead magnet on steroids, to be quite honest, and generally does create deep curiosity in your services after someone has been through it. It gives you amazing data to help you choose who you actually want to work with. It gives you the ability to follow up people who've been through your scorecard with personalized messaging. And that's the beautiful thing about this. And I'll explain and show you an example of that in a minute or two. And I believe it gives you the most highly qualified leads you will ever have. Even when you get referrals from your favorite client, on the surface, the very fact that it's a referral from one of your favorite clients suggests that it's going to be really high qualified leads, but you know as well as I do that it isn't always the case. But if someone has been through a scorecard, answered your questions in your survey, in your quiz, whatever you want to call it, you've got the answers to the questions. That means you can then pick and choose the ones that you want to work with. That makes it the most highly qualified lead you will ever have. So a little bit more in depth, it becomes a new business asset. So what we're going to look at is what is a scorecard. We've already started to do that. The importance of having a theme for your scorecard, the sort of questions and categories in your scorecard, and please, for the word scorecard, we're talking quiz, we're talking survey, we're talking MOT, we're talking health check, anything you want to call it. The results page, how you follow up, other ways to use scorecards, which we've already touched on, and how you market this as a powerful business asset. Okay, so let's go back in time. Let's go back to 1978. I took my A-levels, and in fact, it was around about now, actually, in what are we today? We're early September 2021, and it would have been around about now that my dad said to me, so what are you going to do for a living? I hadn't planned to go to university. I wasn't going to go to college. I'd just got my A-levels. One thing I really was enjoying doing was rock concert photography. That was my thing. Since the age of about 15, I was enjoying event photography. And as I got older, I was able to get press passes, and I used to go to the Hammersmith Odeon, the Rainbow Theatre. Some of you remember that. Dingwalls in Camden Town. I used to go to Wembley, and I used to get up front and I used to take photos of some of the big bands of the day. But my dad was having none of it. He said to me I was going to get a proper job, and kind of in the back of my mind, I knew what he meant, even though I thought that rock concert photography was actually a proper job. And then the day came when my favorite band at the time, Blackfoot, southern rock band from the United States, were in town. They were in London, and they were recording one of the shows at the Hammersmith Odeon for their live album. This is the cover of that album, Highway Song Live. And when the album came out, I was gobsmacked to see that I was on the front cover. I didn't have a press pass that particular day, but there I was right up the front as an 18-year-old. And I thought, well, this is it. This is the pinnacle of my career. And I went home one particular day. I thought, right, I'll go and get a proper job. So I went down to the Dorking Job Centre. Some of you may know Dorking. And I went to the job centre. I had a 10-minute interview with a very nice lady there who, after 10 minutes, concluded that I was cut out for pension scheme administration. I had no idea what that was. And she dispatched me to Friends Provident at the bottom of Box Hill. And she also dispatched me to a company called National Employers Life, which is NEL is now basically Unum, for those of you that know that. I had an interview with Friends Prov. They offered me a job, and NEL offered me a job. And on the basis that NEL was closer to my home and also worked out of a Tudor mansion in the Surrey countryside, I took the job at NEL. I did that for about 6 weeks, something like that. My boss came to me one particular day and said, Phil, I don't think you are cut out for pension scheme administration, but we do think that you might be cut out for sales. And we think you ought to join our team of inspectors, broker consultants, whatever you want to call them these days. And that means going to meet financial advisors and to try and convince them that they should be promoting our products. Does that sound good? Oh, by the way, you'll get a pay rise and you'll get a company car. I said yes on the spot. And to cut long story short, for the next 20 years, I met 20 financial advisors every single week. Week in, week out, I met 20 financial advisors. We had just the best training. There was no knocking on financial advisors' doors. We were trained how to do it professionally, how to really engage with financial advisors. And it was a great company to work with. And I said, the training was phenomenal. So I met thousands of financial advisors, and that was just the first 20 years of my career. Since being an independent consultant, I've continued to meet thousands, and as I said, I've certainly presented to well over 1 million financial advisors around the world. I reckon I've met more financial advisors than anybody else in the industry. Now, when my book came out a couple of years back, this book really was a summary of the best of financial advisor marketing over those 20 years, and then brought right up to date. So everything in that book is about marketing. And as I said, I've met thousands and thousands and thousands of financial advisors, and I have seen, frankly, the good, the bad, and the ugly of marketing and lead generation. And this book talks about the really, really good stuff. If we ever catch up in a bar again sometime, I'll happily tell you about the ugly stuff as well. Some marketing that will make your hair curl, literally. My most recent book is about scorecard marketing. It's actually about marketing with data, and it doesn't look to the past, it looks to the future and how we will be using marketing. Now, what's really interesting as I was putting these two books together was the difference in how we did marketing back in the day and how financial advisors do marketing today. And the fundamental difference was that back in the day, back in the 70s and the 80s, financial advisor marketing was a much, much more proactive affair than it is today. There was no internet back then. So all these things that you can see here were what, financial advisors were doing, going to networking events, putting on their own seminars, going to trade shows, all this good stuff here. The fax machine. Wow, I remember helping financial advisors sending out fax shots till the early hours, sometimes helping them do that. Yeah, some wrote articles, some put on their own events, some had their own merch. PR was a big thing. These are things. Now, a lot of these things we're still doing today, okay? But the things on the sort of right-hand column are what most financial advisors tend to be putting their emphasis on today. And what you'll notice today is financial advisor marketing day is far, far less proactive. Social media and the internet has, to be quite honest, made us lazy, because we put up a profile on LinkedIn, we put up a website, maybe do a few tweets, stick out the odd video once every 6 months, and we think that is marketing. It really isn't. There's no strategy behind it, and there's very, very little effort behind it. And the websites particularly, we put up our websites and we tick a box, and as though it was on our things to do list, and we sit back, cross our arms and go, great, we're now in the world of e-commerce. And I've got to say, you're not, okay? Putting up a website is not putting you in the world of e-commerce. And I'll explain more about that as we go. So fundamentally different approach to marketing between now and back in the day. However, there are some particular tactics that, as part of a wider marketing strategy, genuinely are effective. So some of you may have heard of Michael Kitces in the United States. He and I have both done research into top strategies for top performing advisors, and also low risk strategies for new advisors, or those that are perhaps struggling a little bit. So for top performing advisors, referrals are still top of the list, followed by writing books, seminars, web listings, introducers, joint ventures, LinkedIn, search engine optimization, using funnels and lead magnets, and hiring agencies and consultants. Those are the top performing activities. Low risk strategies for new advisors, or perhaps those needing a bit of help. The list is similar, but different. Still, referrals are top of the list. And I want to talk about referrals in a minute. Introducers, joint ventures, doing local advertising, web listings, seminars, networking, LinkedIn, content and writing books. Yes, we're starting to see more financial advisors in the UK writing books. In the United States, you the I'd say a very, very high percentage of the top financial planners in the United States have written books. If you haven't written a book, it suggests that you really haven't got credibility. That is the perception in the United States. And more financial planners in the United Kingdom and across Europe are beginning to realize actually the power of writing a book. Now, it's easy to say you should write a book. Actually doing it is a different matter altogether. But let me tell you, it's just a process. Follow the process, you'll end up with a book. If you want to know what the process is, just drop me a line and I can point you in the right direction for that. And look at that one on the bottom, old school, non-digital. Some of that old-fashioned stuff is pretty low risk. Now, I want to cast a forensic eye over these two lists here and point out something. The things highlighted in yellow are, broadly speaking, educational marketing activities. Yeah, obviously a book isn't educational. Putting on seminars are educational. Working with joint venture partners, they're usually educationally based. LinkedIn, posting great content on LinkedIn, articles on LinkedIn, that's educational based. Funnel websites with lead magnets. Lead magnets are educational assets. Seminars, that anybody who knows me knows how much I believe in the power of educational marketing, in particular seminars, LinkedIn, writing content and books. So really, really powerful. And scorecards aren't on this list yet. They will be, I guarantee you. But a scorecard is an educational asset because somebody goes through it, they answer a quiz, and at the end they get a score and they get dynamically created content that educates them. It doesn't give them financial advice, it educates them. But we will talk more about that as well. Now, I also mentioned that I want to talk about referrals as well. Referrals have, since the beginning of time, been top of the list. It is top of the list in the United States because financial planners have a referral strategy that is written down and documented. I wonder how many financial planners in the UK have a documented referral strategy. Let me put you out of your misery. Hardly any, okay? We kind of just expect referrals to come in. In the United States, and to some extent in Australia, financial planners teach their clients how to refer them. How many financial advisors do that in the UK? Hardly any. We kind of sit back. You do a great job with your clients. I know that. So you kind of expect and hope that a referral is going to come in. You do a great job with a client. Why wouldn't they refer you? And that is what has always happened. So let me put a bit more meat on the bones. I think that's a very dangerous strategy to rely on in an internet age. Let's go back to the 70s and 80s. If we were at a dinner party, we're sitting around, we're having our fondue, and the topic of personal finance might have come up. Somebody might say, does anybody know somebody who can, I want to help my daughter get her first mortgage, Can anybody know a mortgage advisor? And someone around the table say, oh yeah, you want to check out my financial advisor, Jones & Co. They're awesome. They did a great job for us. And you would write Jones & Co. down on the napkin. And the next day you would go home and you would phone them up. A referral from a real person at a dinner party where everything's nice and convivial, or wherever the referral happened to come in, wherever you were given the name, that was good enough. You just phoned them up, okay? We now live in a very different age. We now live in an age where at dinner parties everyone's on their phone, but let's say that conversation happens again. Does anybody know somebody who can help my daughter get a mortgage? Or does anybody know someone who can help me get my pension ducks in a row because I'm getting near to retirement and, it's time I got some financial advice? Somebody around the table would say, oh, yeah, check out Jones & Co. They're absolutely fantastic. And we would write jonesandco.co.uk down on the napkin. We would take it home. We would be grateful for that introduction. But guess what? We won't phone them up. What do we do instead? We go and check them out on Google. We do a little bit of due diligence ourselves. So we go onto Google, we type in jonesandco.co.uk, and it finds Jones & Co.'s website if they've got one. But also, it also shows is other financial advisors in the local area. So we go, okay, well, we'll have a look at Jones & Co. and we just want to check them out. What do they look like? What does Mr. or Mrs. Jones actually look like? What does it say on their website? Do they look credible? Is their blog up to date? Little things like that are important to us. And remember, the people by people factor comes into play here as well, even online. Okay, so we check out Jones & Co., but we also see Smith & Co.'s website, so we better have a look at them as well. And they seem to have quite a lot of qualifications. Then we see Williamson & Co. We better check their website out as well. And the first thing that we discover is that those 3 websites, we might even look at 10 websites while we're about it, because we're online. We might as well do it. It's quick and easy to do. And the first thing we notice is they all say the same thing. They all make the same promises. They all promise us a great service. They've all got pictures of elderly folks sitting on deck chairs on beaches. Maybe 1 or 2 of them have got pictures of them sitting on their yacht. Maybe 1 or 2 of them have got pictures of them flying kites with their grandchildren. Okay, and they all say exactly the same thing. They all use exactly the same wording. We might even check 1 or 2 of them out on LinkedIn. They all say exactly the same thing on their LinkedIn profiles as well. So we think, okay, so how do I choose? Maybe I'll go to the original inquiry. Maybe I like the look of the photo of Williamson and Co.'s website. Maybe I can figure this stuff out for myself. Maybe I don't need to talk to a financial advisor after all. Maybe I'll discover a personal finance blog. Maybe I might find a YouTube channel. Maybe I might find a podcast that answers the questions that I was going to ask the financial advisor anyway. Maybe I don't need a financial advisor. And it's for this reason that I think unless we have a seriously documented, well thought through referral strategy, that I think that just sitting back waiting for the right referrals to come in is a very dangerous game in this day and age. It really, really is. You have to differentiate yourself when people go check you out online. You have to stand out from the crowd. You have to put some real work into how you present yourself online, so that when people do visit your website, they don't just see an online brochure, they see something that offers them real value. Okay, now this is not real value. Posting everywhere all of the time on all of these different platforms is, trust me, is just a waste of time. If you have a marketing consultant or somebody who's telling you that you need to be posting content everywhere all of the time, just get rid of them, sack them immediately, okay? It is utter nonsense. And what it also does, and it worked for a little while, and I'll explain a bit more of that in a minute. 5 years ago, doing that, it did work. It doesn't work anymore. If you really know something about your ideal client, if you really want high quality clients that really do suit your proposition, then if you know about them, then you'll know what podcasts they listen to, what websites they visit, what they read, where they go on holiday, where they send their kids to school. You will know everything about them, what books they read, what magazines they read, what newspapers they read at the weekend. You should know that stuff. If you don't, you really should. But once you know that stuff, that is where you put your effort, okay? So I'm not saying forget social media, it doesn't work. It does work if you get real focus. It doesn't work if you just use this appalling scattergun approach. It used to work, it doesn't work anymore. So let's just boil this down anymore. If I had to if someone stuck a gun to my head and said, Phil, I'm new to this, I haven't got time to focus too much on a marketing strategy, but just tell me 1 or 2 things that you know work for the most successful advisors or work most of the time. This is what I'm going to tell you. Seminars, top of the list. Workshops, well, for seminar, read workshop. Client events. Anything where you can get a group of people, whether they are prospects or whether they are existing clients, and there is a difference between the two, get them in a room so that they can see the whites of your eyes, and educate them. And the modern equivalent is using webinars, okay? Seminars, workshops, live educational events have been proven time and time again since the earliest days of financial advice that the most successful financial advisors around the world use some sort of educational marketing in the form of events in some way, shape, or form at some point in their marketing. Okay, some financial advisors around the world used seminars and workshops as a marketing tool, then realized just how effective it is, and then started charging people to attend their seminars and events, and actually stopped doing face-to-face financial planning and make their money just doing charging people to attend educational seminars, workshops, weekend retreats, boot camps, whatever you want to call it. I know one financial planner in the United States who puts on a quarterly weekend wealth symposium. Okay, he doesn't do any more financial planning, doesn't do any financial advice. He just puts on a weekend wealth symposium. It's a 3-day thing at a really upmarket hotel. He charges people $20,000 a ticket, and he has a queue that just goes round the block for a waiting list, basically, for months and months and months. There is no doubt at all that today's consumers love personal finance education. The problem is most consumers are getting their personal finance education from journalists. Is that what you really want as financial advisors? Do you really want journalists educating your clients? You know, some of the journalists are pretty good, okay? But they are your clients, particularly your good quality clients. They read this stuff. They read it in the physical papers. They read it online. They listen to podcasts. They educate themselves. Today's consumer, when they come visit a financial planner, are far better informed, far more clued up than they were ever been in the past. They know their stuff. So when they arrive on your website these days and they see bland, dare I say, platitudes and pictures of old folks flying kites on beaches, that is utterly meaningless to them. They want education. But guess what? You have the expertise. You have the ability to take the expertise you have got and use it to educate people. Use it as a marketing tool to attract more of your ideal clients, and also use it to add serious value to your existing clients as well. So if you were to put a gun to my head and said, what's the single most effective marketing for financial advisors? I would say seminars and events. Okay, simple as that. There are one or two other things as well that you want to think of. So how do I market myself? You know, there are multiple ways to tell people about me and my business. And I use seminars, workshops, speeches, networking, social media, mostly LinkedIn, and books. If I go back to that picture of, let me just go back to it, this one here. Yes, putting content out there suggests to people that you are credible, you have expertise, and you know what you're talking about, okay? But all you are doing is just adding to the noise. And I believe that by putting content out there all of the time, everywhere, you're actually cheapening your value as a financial advisor. Don't cheapen your value. If anything, you should be enhancing the perception of your value, not cheapening it. I used to do that myself. I used to just put blogs and articles and social media out all over the place. I used to do that myself. And then I had a blinding flash one particular morning 2 or 3 years ago. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because everybody else is doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to put my value or expertise, such as it is, in books, and I'm going to sell it to people. I'm not going to give it away free. I'm going to sell it to people. Yes, I give my books away free, but giving a book away to people is a very different thing from putting an article on some website or on some blog somewhere, okay? So there are multiple ways for me to tell people about my business. However, there are hardly any ways for people to tell me about themselves. Now, just think about that for a moment. If people were able to tell me about themselves, that would make it much, much easier for me to target how I then communicate my services to them. Exactly the same thing for financial advisors. There are multiple ways to tell people about your services as a financial planner, but there are hardly any way for people to tell you about them. And if they could tell you more about them, then you could focus your marketing communications so much better. In fact, it would be like a laser. It would be so accurate in the way you could communicate. So this leads me to 8 fundamental problems with financial advisor marketing in 2021. And unless you take note of this stuff, there'll be the same 8 fundamental problems in 2022 and beyond. Okay, so this is a really important bit that I would really want you to take notice of. First of all, the referral process is changing. We've already explained that. Yeah, the days when we can just sit back and expect referrals to automatically come in are, I believe, that's a tactic that I believe is creaking. Yes, you do a great job. Yes, to some extent, you can expect people to tell their friends. However, I would urge you to learn how to build a referral strategy and learn how to train your clients to refer you. And the book I always recommend that you do that was basically anything by Bill Cates. His best book is called Get More Referrals Now. You'll find it on Amazon. He is based in the United States, but he is the world's leading expert on helping financial advisors to build a robust referral strategy. So if you want to rely on referrals, absolutely fine. But what I would strongly suggest is that you up your game on how you use referrals as part of your marketing strategy as well. So Get More Referrals Now, and he's got multiple other books on referrals as well. And don't be put off by the fact that he's in the United States. Never a bad thing. Just because he's in the United States, I know financial planning is slightly different over there and how they go about marketing in the United States, but Bill is the real deal. And I honestly wouldn't recommend anything to anybody unless I believed firmly in it myself. Today's consumers need proof of your value. A picture of attractive grey-haired people sitting in deck chairs or flying kites on beaches is not proof of your value. Okay, please start thinking in depth about how you prove your value and your expertise as financial advisors. You must, if you have no intention of having a marketing plan, then please press the stop button now. I know many of you watching this are you're a financial advisor in a bigger plan, and to some extent you feel you don't need a plan because the company does the marketing for you. People buy people. They don't buy logos, okay? They buy into you. So you can create a marketing plan that is based around you. On a local level, there are multiple different things that you can do as part of a plan that markets you as an individual. If you would like help creating a formal marketing plan for yourself, I will more than happily help you. People like Phil Bray will more than happily help you. Faith Liversedge will more than happily help you. The nice people at Uniquity will more than happily help you. And there are enough marketing people in this profession now that you can get help with that. Okay. Something else that struck me a little while ago is there are so many financial advisors who are failing to collaborate. And you're thinking, well, why would I do that? Well, here's the simple fact of life. Most financial advisors are not in competition. If you take where I live here, Cranley in Surrey, we've got about 10 financial advice firms in the near vicinity. And then if you extend out to Guildford, you'll find at least another dozen high quality financial planning firms, but none of them are in competition. So what you could do, and this is just one really, really simple little idea, okay? One really simple little idea to collaborate is get together with about a dozen other financial advisors in your area, okay? And get together in a pub or over Zoom, however you want to do it, okay, and say, look, how could we collaborate with our marketing for the benefit of all of us? And one way you could do that is you could create a simple website which each of you contribute one blog every single month or every single quarter. So, you really won't have much work to do, okay? And that blog goes on there. And you could call it, for sake of argument, you could call it the Reading Financial Advisor Directory. Now, it's not a directory at all. You could call it the Reading Financial Advisor blog or something like that. And where all of you are listed on that, but all of you contribute content to that blog, that one website. And guess who will pick that up? Google, of course. So when people are searching for a financial advisor in Guildford or a financial advisor in Reading or a financial advisor in Edinburgh, if you have got a collaborative website between you all, Google is going to favor that one if it has got some great regularly posted content on there. And so, you all benefit by taking that approach. Really, really important. And so think about how you can collaborate with other financial advisors in your area, locally, in your town, in your village, wherever. Lots of opportunities because you really are not in competition. We've already said that financial advisor is highly reactive. That absolutely has to change, okay? Social media, unless you have got a full-on social media strategy that has been well thought through, that is well funded as well, the only real value to you will be networking, communicating with other people in the industry. Really interesting. If you look at Twitter, hardly any financial advisors are picking up clients through Twitter. One or two are, but hardly any. The overwhelming majority of financial advisors on Twitter are using it to network and interact and engage with other people in the industry. So yeah, it's beneficial from that point of view, but it's certainly not beneficial from a marketing point of view. Now this is the real big one. Websites are brochures and are wasting leads. The overwhelming majority of financial advisors have got reasonably nice looking websites these days. When you compare today's financial advisor websites with those a few years ago, they're like chalk and cheese, but they are for the most part online brochures. And I want to go into that in a bit more depth in a minute or two. Most financial advisors don't know their website visit numbers. I did some research about 18 months ago. I spoke to 100 financial advisors. We looked in depth at their website, and out of 100 financial advisors, 6 actually knew their website numbers. 6 knew their website numbers. This is shocking, to be quite honest, that you don't know your website numbers. And again, I appreciate you might be a financial advisor on somebody else's website, but I'll lay any money that somebody else doesn't know their website numbers. This is key management information. If I said to you, just out of interest, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, I know that you get leads through a local firm of accountants. Just roughly, how many leads have you had from that local firm of accountants this year? You'll probably be able to tell me. You might say, actually, it hasn't been a very good year. We've only had a couple. Or you might say, well, it's up to about 10, 15 this year. You've got a reasonable handle on that number. But if I said to you, how many leads have you had from your website? The overwhelming majority of financial advisors have no idea. We'll talk more about that, okay? And it is a simple fact of life that many traditional marketing methods are running out of steam. And this has been exacerbated by the pandemic. Can't go to trade shows, can't put on seminars, can't put on workshops, can't go to networking events. And I'll also include referrals in that as well. Definitely creaking. So these are some real problems that please take note of these things, because if you don't take note of them, they'll come back to bite you next year and the year after that and the year after that. There are even more. Let's really rub this in. Sorry. There are more problems. Marketing within the regulated world, I get it. It's tough. Okay. I work in the pharmaceutical industry as well. I work with lawyers. I work with accountants as well. And marketing in any kind of regulated environment is perceived to be difficult. In actual fact, it isn't. There is this perception that marketing within the world of financial advice is difficult. Well, let me put it this way. If you insist on doing financial promotions that haven't been approved on social media, you're going to get in trouble. And let's put it another way. Nobody wants to see financial promotions in their social media stream. So just don't do it. Okay. So that makes it easy. Don't give financial advice on social media. Okay, that's just a no-brainer. Okay, don't bring your business, don't bring your industry, don't bring your profession into disrepute either. So marketing within the regulated environment is much, much easier than you imagine. You just have to think outside the box. You need to have a plan, you need to have a strategy, and work with compliance, work with your legal people, work with your comms people. Comms people, compliance people don't like surprises, okay? So don't surprise them. It's easier than you think. Differentiation. The overwhelming majority of financial advisors' LinkedIn profiles all say exactly the same thing. Website design is shockingly similar. We've really got to think about how we differentiate ourselves. We have preconceived perceptions about what people want to see from financial advisors, and also consumers out there needing your expertise, needing financial planning, have preconceived perceptions about financial advisors as well. You know, I happen to think that financial planning is one of those services that huge numbers of people, they just don't know what it is. Why don't they know what it is? Because we've made, as an industry, a pig's ear of how we communicate our value. And so, you know, with successive financial services and financial related scandals, there are preconceived perceptions about financial planners and about financial advice in general. But what most people don't realize, I think financial planning is one of those services that people don't really get it until they've experienced it. So you need to give people the opportunity to experience your expertise so that they can make a valued judgment as to whether or not they should be working for you. I mean, that's one of the reasons why seminars work so well, is people can arrive in the room and they can sit there at the back of the room if they want to with their arms crossed, which means don't talk to me, don't pick on me. But they can see for themselves the expertise that you've got. They see the whites of their eyes. They get a sense of, do they like you? Simple stuff like that, okay? Shiny object syndrome. Yeah, we've got a problem with that. Or, you know, let's give that a go. Let's give that a go. Let's give that a go. Give that a go really isn't a plan, really isn't a strategy. Also, I think marketing in financial services and financial advice is affected by peaks and troughs in workload. There's no question about that. You know as well as I do that there are certain times of the year where there simply isn't time to breathe, let alone do some marketing. And lots of financial advisors tell me, yeah, we know we should. In fact, the vast majority of financial advisors tell me we know we should be doing more marketing, but actually making time for it is a problem as well. I also get other financial advisors who just feel that let's take the word lead magnet. That does sound a bit American, and that is no disrespect to the Americans, because they do financial advice marketing really very well. But we do find it a bit awkward. We find it awkward to ask for referrals, let alone train our clients how to do referrals. Just get over it, okay? Get over it. It's important. You cannot survive, you cannot exist unless you do marketing within the context of a clearly defined strategy. Now, that does not mean that every financial advice firm needs to do marketing to attract more clients, okay? Marketing is as much about promoting the value of your services to existing clients and to professional connections and to introducers, and to establish your role as a valued member of your local community. Marketing is not all about attracting new clients, okay? And a lot of financial advisors will say it's not our natural strength. You know, we're good with numbers, or we're good with people. We're great listeners. It's not our natural strength. And I get it as well. So, you know, having slagged off financial advisors and their marketing, now let's look at it in a much more positive light. This is really what I'm trying to say. These are the foundations that we need to get right, okay? And if we can get these things right, then there is so much that we can do with how we present our expertise and our proposition. There's something else that's worth really bearing in mind. This concept of buy cycles, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. As I said, it used to be in the past, if somebody was referred to you, you get an inquiry. Okay, very direct. It doesn't happen like that, okay, anymore. It's much more complex. The marketing you actually do is just one touch point that people see. And many people see your marketing. Many people will look at your website. Many people might listen to your podcast, your YouTube video, or read your download or your guide, and then actually don't go ahead. Okay? So we need multiple touch points. We need multiple reasons to engage with people and prove to them that we are their friend and that they can trust us and that you become their natural choice. I've always loved that expression of a financial advisor being their natural choice. We've got to stop relying on this one-step brochure website, and we've got to remember the concept of the value ladder, which I will talk more about in a minute as well. Now, a lot of financial advisors have a lot of expectations around leads, that simply by having a website, we can sit back and that will produce the leads. Guess what? It doesn't. It doesn't for the most part. Okay. We kind of expect referrals to come automatically. They do, but as I've said earlier, to me, we have become grossly over-reliant on referrals, and particularly now that we are living in an internet age. Okay. We kind of expect local introducers will send leads without doing much to actually encourage that to happen. Where we do go to lead providers, I see financial advisors constantly saying the quality isn't great, or that we want it to be quick and expensive at the same time. Well, quick and inexpensive, well, you're just going to get rubbish if you rely on that. We kind of expect lead providers to be quick and high quality. That's not going to really happen unless you pay a lot of money. We expect lead providers to be high quality and inexpensive. Well, that's just not going to happen. And we believe that operating in a niche will reduce the number of leads that we get. Remember what I said earlier? Operating in a niche actually increases the number of leads you get. For most financial advisors, to some extent, you are a bit of a needle in a haystack, where if you focus on having expertise in specific markets, then you become the haystack rather than the needle in the haystack. So traditional marketing is starting to run out of steam. Some of it is, at least. Networking, well, we're just starting to see that start up again. Hopefully that will be okay. Seminars, most financial advisors I've spoken to say, yeah, they will do seminars, but if they know how, if there's a process, and we certainly ain't going to do it in 2021. Trade shows are almost non-existent now, but we will see them again. Web listings are a bit hit and miss. It does work, but it can be hit and miss. It's certainly cheap, let's put it that way. Social media is ridiculously hit and miss unless you have got a properly funded strategy, and the right to automatic referrals is, as I've made it pretty clear, I think a bit creaky. Let's just continue with the history lesson, because it's important to put all of this into context. We've talked about 1978 up to about 1998. And 1998, we started to see digital starting to get going, and it was completely new. The first social media site didn't appear till, well, it appeared in about 1998. Academy.com was the first B2B site that also did B2C as well. LinkedIn appeared in about 2003 as well, and then the rest is history. So we were kind of learning this stuff in the early days. It wasn't called social media back in the day. It was called social networking. LinkedIn is still a social networking site, and yet people use it as a social media site. When you use it as a networking platform, you suddenly will find your experience of LinkedIn so different. I have a separate training on LinkedIn. If you'd like to look at that, just let me know. We saw digital as quite an exciting new opportunity. We thought, hold on, here's a great opportunity. Are you really telling me that I can put content out there and the world and his wife will see it for nothing? Are you really telling me that? Yes, I am telling you that. So, very exciting times. Then it started to mature and we got into the golden era. It was pretty easy to get followers. For some reason, we believed that getting followers was the holy grail. In fact, all you had to do was follow someone else and they followed you back. And we almost sort of patted ourselves on the back when that happened. It was really easy to get engagement. You could post anything and somebody would notice it. Somebody would comment on it. Somebody would like it. The world and his wife would see your content. It was free business. Literally everything worked. And if you were even vaguely consistent as to when you put your content out there, you could almost class yourself as an influencer. And to be quite frank, using social media between these years, it was a fantastic return on wasting time. Then we get to 2020 and things are starting to change. It really starting to get messy. Everyone's on social media pretty well now in some way, shape or form, even if you don't tweet every day or whatever it is. The noise levels are getting ridiculous. You know that as well as I do. It's actually really difficult to get attention unless you pay. I haven't got a problem with paying for, say, Facebook ads, but we can talk more about that another time. People are getting better at filtering out that noise. And platforms, particularly Facebook, are now monetizing. What I mean by that, back in the day, 5 years ago, you could put anything on Facebook and you would get attention and you'd get some inquiries and you'd get some business. These days, you can still use Facebook, but Facebook really want you to pay. Again, I fundamentally haven't got a problem with paying for Facebook ads as long as for every pound I pay in advertising, I'm getting 2 or more pounds back. Most financial advisors who are paying for Facebook ads, they put £1 in and they are not getting 2 or more pounds back. They're getting 50p back. That is not sustainable in the long term, with the exception, I would say, of a lot of mortgage advisors. A lot of mortgage advisors are pretty good when it comes to advertising on Facebook, and they really know how to leverage that particular platform. So today, you get a pretty poor return on wasting time on social media. So we need discipline, we need strategy, and we need focus. So let's get serious about this, guys. We need a strategy. We need a plan. We cannot put that off any longer. Even if you work for a company that apparently has a plan, or not, as the case may be, you personally still need a plan. You need to stop patting yourself on the back for somebody liking your content. What you should start patting yourself on the back for is converting people who pay attention to you. If someone likes your content, great, but what are you doing to turn that person into a prospect? What are you doing to find out whether or not that person is potentially an ideal prospect? We really need to start thinking about personalizing our marketing, which we're coming on to. We need to start partnering up with influencers. And I don't necessarily mean people like Gary Vaynerchuk or Grant Cardone or pop stars or footballers who are clearly influencers, but I mean influencers in micro niches. If, for example, you are a financial advisor and you like working with dentists, there are influencers in the dental world, okay? And you need to be looking to build relationships with them so that they become your best buddy and you become their best buddy, and so that you can build a relationship so that it becomes much more likely that they will highlight you and recommend you in the work that they are doing. We need to be focusing on education and value more than ever before. It is inevitable, I guess, that journalists will be educating your prospects, but really you should be the one educating your prospects, okay, in a variety of different ways. And what marketing we do really should be focused around creating a huge amount of curiosity in you, your services, and your expertise. Though this is the way forward. And in another 5 years, it'll be different, okay? But for now, whether you are just starting out, whether you're struggling a little bit with your marketing, maybe you are thinking about handing over or selling your business to someone else, you should still be marketing. But these are the things you need to be putting off. But more than anything else, and I saw Phil Bray writing about this the other day of the Yardstick Agency, saying it is so important to have a strategy, have a plan that you have in place. And your plan, your strategy, it doesn't need to be a 20-page Word document. It can be literally written on one side of A4. Be clear about who is my ideal client that creates the most profit for us. Where are we now? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? All these things we really need to focus on to build our plan, and then look at the tactical stuff. Okay, within the context of that plan, what activities should we be doing that will reach these ideal clients and make it so much easier that they will convert and they will see us as their natural choice of financial planner to work with. So Lead Gen 1.0 was all about collecting name, number, and email address. And the shocking thing is the overwhelming majority of financial advisors never even did that. Okay? Lead Gen 2.0 is about collecting meaningful data and leveraging it intelligently for the benefit of the prospect and yourself, and to build relationships much faster. And that's what we're going to be talking about next. So this leads us to a marketing strategy that you might want to consider. A strategy that focuses on educating prospects and existing clients, having a website that is no longer just a brochure that people can look at, that gives people no value whatsoever, that enables us to personalize our communications based on real data that prospects give us, and which enables people to get a sense of who we are so that the relationship builds, the trust builds over time. Educational assets. What do I mean by educational assets? Of real value. There's all sorts of different educational assets, but things of real value that you can consider are books, videos, podcasts, webinars, personalized assessments, i.e. a scorecard or a survey or a tool, something interactive on your website, or call it another way, a gap analysis tool. A scorecard is a gap analysis tool. And it works based on the principle that most human beings love to benchmark themselves against some sort of standard that an expert has set, and then it gives them tips to improve. We'll talk more about that as we go. But educational assets always have been powerful, are, and I believe always will be. So enhance your proposition. Think about other things. Most financial advisors are looking for high quality financial planning clients. For the most part, clients who are over the age of 50, they tend to shy away from one-to-many or younger clients, and they tend to shy away from online programs. But the one-to-many approach, the younger clients and online clients, can give you a whole new string to your bow. I am not suggesting for a moment that you abandon your current target market of the high quality, high end financial planning work that you do. But what I am suggesting, and in my conversations with financial advisors that I have every day, many are now thinking about either starting another business or starting a new string to their bow where they completely target a completely different market altogether, and they focus on it and they deliver that proposition in a completely different way. These young clients, they aren't going to pay for your fees unless they are very high earning young entrepreneurial types, and that's a nice little niche to go for, by the way. But younger people who can't afford your fees right now but might be able to afford them in the future, but they still value and need your expertise now. So come up with other ways of doing that. Now, let's look at websites and let's really make this point, okay? And it's so important. And all the stats, all the research shows that the overwhelming majority of financial advisors are getting it wrong when it comes to their website. Their websites, there's no strategy behind their website. They are too complicated. They look nice, but they're complicated. They are not much more than a brochure. They are a very attractive looking brochure. They don't collect any data at all about the visitors to that website, and they simply are not converting visitors into high quality clients. Okay. The problem is that the overwhelming majority of financial advice firms are lookalikes. Now, I piss off a few financial advisors at this particular point, but when you hear the point I'm making, you will understand why I make this particular point. If I walk down any high street in any town, anywhere, I will find that one firm of accountants looks exactly the same as another. Another firm of lawyers looks exactly the same as another, and every single estate agent looks exactly the same. they are finding it very, very difficult to differentiate from one another. And the same goes for financial advisors. And I know the overwhelming majority of financial advisors do not have high street premises. And some financial advisors have actually said to me, Phil, what you're saying is not fair. We are different from Jones and Co. down the road. And I say to them, yeah, I know you're different. I know you are completely different from Jones and Co. down the road. In fact, every single financial advisor in the UK is different from each other. However, the way you present yourself to the outside world is exactly the same as every other financial advisor. And I appreciate this is broad brush stuff, but I know it to be true. You cannot afford to look and behave like other financial advisors. You are not paid to look and behave like another financial advisor. You are not a professional lookalike. You are not paid to look like someone else. Yet that's exactly what you're doing. Now, in my research on hundreds and hundreds of financial advisor websites, I see this kind of stuff. We have a robust investment strategy. We have a client-focused approach. We have commitment to excellence in customer service. I should bloody well hope so too. This is not a differentiator. Oh, and quite a lot of financial advisors have hot air balloons for some bizarre reason. I have no idea why. This is just banal platitudes that offers no value to anyone at all. These sort of stuff, we expect this of you, yeah? We expect it. Consumers expect it. And then website themes. If I had a quid for every lighthouse I've seen on a financial planner's website, I've even got a whole presentation which shows screenshots of financial advisor websites with lighthouses and compasses and yachts and cruises and violins and green shoots growing out of someone's hand, ballooning, couples sitting on deck chairs, grandparents flying kites with their grandchildren, couples with grandchildren on their shoulder, couples hand in hand on the seafront. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. Now, they are very, very professionally done. They look awesome. But you have to answer the question, why would someone want to read your brochure on a screen any more than read it on high quality pieces of paper? And to use some kind of analogies, the overwhelming majority of financial advisor websites tell us the bleeding obvious. We can figure this stuff out for ourselves, okay? And they are not particularly helpful in their signposting to the services that they offer. And these are literally stuff I've seen. Our advisors will guide you to a comfortable future. Really? Our passion is helping our clients. I should hope so too. We are highly qualified. I expect that. And again, I appreciate I'm to some extent making fun of this particular point, but it is really, really important. Most financial advisors' websites, however good they look, are failing you, okay? They are not doing the job, okay? So what website visitors actually need is they need you to speak to their issue. Yeah, even though you don't know what their issue is, they expect you to speak to it. They need to feel that you're the only choice. They need proof of your expertise, and they need a reason to engage with you. Worth keeping that in mind. They need you to speak to their specific issue. Guess what? If you had a survey or a quiz or a scorecard as part of your website, guess what? You can then speak to their specific issue, and you can do that without ever having met them. Just think about that for a moment, okay? Far too many financial advisors are focusing on website traffic. How do we get people to come there? Now, my research shows quite clearly that you've got more than enough people visiting your website. They're just not turning into conversions, or at least the right conversions. And I know one or two of you might have seen this before, but it's worth mentioning again. I did some research into 100 financial advisor websites within the last couple of years, and we had a look at their website stats, which was eye-opening in itself for the owners of the financial advisor websites, because they had rarely, if ever, seen their website stats. And what I discovered was that the average number of visits to financial advisor websites over the course of a month was 197, so just shy of 200 visits. This was the average. So some were getting a lot more, some were getting a lot less, but that was the average. Now, to my way of thinking, let's just round that up. Let's say that's 200. 200 visits to most financial advisors is more than enough. And let's imagine that half of those were people who were never going to become clients anyway. And let's imagine even half of those again were recruiters. You're still left with a very tidy number of people who have looked at your website, they've had a look round, but they've not made contact. What I discovered when I did the research with those financial advisors is that most financial advisors had no idea how many people were visiting their website. They had no idea how many pages people had visited. They had no idea which pages, how long they'd spent, what they'd typed into Google in the first place. They had no idea where they were visiting from, and they had no idea which page of their website was the page where the visitor gave up and left. And finally, they had no idea what the bounce rate was. And the bounce rate is the percentage of people who land on your website and then leave without looking at another page on your website. And the average percentage bounce rate for the 100 financial advisor websites I looked at was 54%. That was the average. Some were lower, some were. I had one financial advisor, his bounce rate, he had a really good looking website, but his bounce rate was 85%. And he had no idea, and his jaw dropped when I told him that the overwhelming majority of his website visitors left and probably didn't come back. When we then analyzed why, and let's put it this way, everybody should have a bounce rate. A good bounce rate is anything less than 25%. So you could still, even a quarter of your website visitors bounce straight off, if you're in that territory, that's actually quite a good place to be. But most financial advisors were, more than double that. The reason why the bounce rate is so high is because there's so much information and so many calls to action. The average number of clickable links on the homepage alone was 34. That's the average. Some were less, some were much more. Now let's just think about that. 34 clickable links on the homepage alone. Now, some of you will be thinking right now, oh no, we haven't got 34 links on our website. Just go and have a look at the homepage of your website and count up how many bits people can click on. When you think about the menu bar at the top or the side, or if you scroll down, all the links, just count them up and you'll be quite surprised how many you've got. I would argue that your website should have one link and one clickable link alone. I will explain more about that in time. But most financial advisors, they've got 34 clickable links. So what does that mean to the average website visitor? It means, where do I click? Now, the reason for this goes back to the early days of financial advisor websites. The early days of financial advisor websites, when hardly any advisors had websites, the considered thinking at the time was that you needed to have cram as much content on your website as you possibly could. That was the considered thinking at the time. Just cram it all on. It was called making your website sticky. And as a result, most financial advisors' websites looked terrible. I remember Martin Bamford at Informed Choice saying, he says, our website looked terrible. He said, but back in the day, it actually worked well because we were giving people value. Today, it doesn't work like that. What we're doing is when people are visiting our website, however people arrive on your website, they arrive on a website and it's like hitting a brick wall. They are just met with a whole load of different calls to action, 34 different calls to action. And the simple fact of the matter is a confused mind will always say no. There is even science behind this. It's called Hick's Law. The more options you give someone to think about, the longer they will take to respond. And it's even influenced by age. And so if financial advisors are, for the most part, targeting people over 50, over 60, maybe over 70, it makes it even more likely that they will not stick around on your website. So simple fact of the matter is financial advisors don't know their website numbers, and you really should. It's key management information. They've got far too many options on their website, and their websites are not doing their job. Now, some of you will tell me, oh, but Phil, our website is a brochure. So I get that, but I'd say, well, why have you got a brochure? And then they say, oh, to give people some information about us in the hope that they will want to talk to us. So don't tell me your website is a brochure. Having a website that is a brochure is no different than going down to the local shopping mall and handing out leaflets in the hope that someone will say, "Oh, I've been waiting for you in my life." No, they haven't. Okay. So in short, advisor websites are receiving visitors. Stop worrying about getting visitors to your website. Advisor websites are high quality websites. So it's great that you are projecting a high quality image, fantastic, but advisor websites are not engaging and converting people. They are not bringing people into your world. A simple fact of the matter is that views of your shop, your business, whatever, from the outside are never as valuable. They're never as good as the view from the inside. We need to be making our website bring people into our world. Yes, they'll have a look at it. It looks great from the outside, but we want people coming in. And so I'm not just talking about financial advisors with high street presences. I'm talking about all financial advisors. Whether, your world, your proposition is what we need them to see from the inside. We need them to experience it. So there is a school of thought that a website should do one of two things. It should either add value to existing clients or it should convert new visitors. One or the other, not both. It's not a brochure. So we want to focus on this word convert. We've established that people are visiting your website. Some of those people you don't want to deal with, but there'll be one or two in there that you really do want to deal with, but you've missed out because you've not brought them into your world. Okay, so focus on converting new visitors, and not just any visitor, the right visitor. The way we do that is provide them with real value, personalized value, and we want to create real curiosity. We want to give them something to do when they're on your website. We want to address their concerns, challenges, and pain. And you're thinking, hold on, we don't know what their concerns, challenges, and pain are. There's a way to get that. We want to give them a personalized experience, and we want to create opportunities to start conversations. Now, that sounds like quite a tall order for a website. Quite a tall order, yeah? Because your website has not been doing that up until now. And I'm going to show you how to make that happen. Giving a personalized experience is right at the heart of that. And personalizing how you engage with people is super powerful. When I worked at Zurich Life, when I became head of national accounts, it meant I was on the marketing team. It meant I had a decision in how our budget was spent. It meant I had a decision in which agencies did our creative work for us. And one particular day, this arrived in my post. A transparent envelope. Phil Calvert, you change your toothbrush when it's worn out, so why not change your agency? It looks like someone's, written that with their fingertip on a mirror. Now, this was done before Photoshop, okay, before digital marketing. This is personalized marketing. Do you think that got my attention? Of course it did. And I still use that in my presentations. I'm using it in my presentation today. About a month later, the same agency thought they'd try and pull another trick. They sent me an A4 sized glossy photo of a young lady who's tattooed my name on her arm. Do you think that got my attention? Of course it got my attention. I've got it framed on my office wall here. Personalized marketing to make me smile, to get my attention. None of the other agencies did this, and this was the agency that we went to because we felt that they had obviously they'd really thought about this. What would get our attention? What would get our attention is personalizing their approach to us. Okay. And again, this took time to do. This was done with an airbrush, with a real designer. This wasn't done by Photoshop. 2 or 3 years back, I was selling my house. So I put a day aside to go around all our local estate agents. First thing I noticed that all the estate agents, they looked the same. They all said exactly the same thing to me. They all promised me a great service. They promised value at their heart. They all promised a competitive fee. And I went back home at the end of the day feeling more confused than anything else. I thought, right, I'll sleep on it before I decide which of the estate agents gets my business. The following day, I get up, the post arrives, and in the post, I opened an envelope, and in the post was a piece of red carpet, 8 inches by 6 inches approximately. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. When I eventually move house, perhaps there'll be a little space where I need a bit of carpet, and that will be useful. I turned over the carpet, and on the other side, what do I find? Handwritten, Philip, all our clients get the same red carpet treatment. That is beautiful. That is a thing of beauty. That is proper old school marketing that has been personalized, and Stratton Parker got my business, made me smile as well. So I give you that as a little freebie today. Now that we can go back to the shops, go down to your local carpet center and buy up a few yards of red carpet, cut it up into slices and put something on the back like that, and every prospect, send them one of these, okay? So talk about cheap, yeah? But talk about powerful as well. This kind of marketing, this personalized marketing, gets people onto your value ladder. It gets them several steps up because they just love it. The purpose of a value ladder is to make it easier to start conversations and build relationships with prospects and clients. And that is really important to financial planners. It's not like buying a coffee. Working with a financial advisor is not an impulse purchase. Buying a coffee, you don't even think about it. It's an impulse purchase. But a considered purchase, like working with a financial planner, takes time for people to build, to get to know you, to build the relationship, to build up trust, to get a sense of who you are, to get a feel for what you're like. The two are fundamentally different. And we expect great things of people these days. Let's go back to this. We kind of expect people in an internet age to arrive on our website who we're a complete stranger to them, and we expect them to jump to an in-depth, high-quality, high-trust relationship with us at the click of a finger. That's what we're expecting people to do, the way we go about marketing ourselves in this profession. And an internet age, it simply doesn't work like that, okay? We need to build trust. We need to build relationships. We need to bring people into our world carefully. Dentists do this. Let's use another profession. The real money for dentists is not doing fillings. It's not pulling out teeth. The real money for dentists is the high value, high quality stuff at the top of that ladder. Cosmetic work, yeah? But to get people in, these days, what a lot of dentists will do is they'll offer free teeth cleaning. Some will offer free teeth whitening. I mean, there was a time when teeth whitening was the high-end, high-profit service for a dentist. So they'll offer that for free, and they do that is to get you in the building, for them to get to know us, to get a sense of our expertise, to get a sense of our quality. The dentists will treat them like kings and queens. They'll even give them some, nice drinks when they arrive. They'll do a variety of things. Just get them in the building. They'll even get video testimonials. So that's the bait that dentists will throw out there. Chiropractors will do a similar thing. Doing the occasional bit of acupuncture and massage now and again, there's not a lot of money in that. Where the real money is for chiropractors is in ongoing subscription plans and weekend retreats. Remember I talked about the financial planner who do his weekend symposium? That's where the big money is. But to get people to spend the big money and for a client to be profitable, we need to get them in the building. So they'll offer free consultation and free massage in this day and age. Gyms do exactly the same thing. A value ladder for a gym starts on January the 1st. They get you in the building, give you a free pass for a month. The real money is further up the ladder, but they want you to experience the product, to experience the service before you're going to commit to more money. This is my value ladder for financial advisors. What I really want financial advisors to do is to put their hand in their pocket and spend money on my deep dive, long weekend marketing retreat right at the top. That's where I really want you to spend your money. But if all I did was offer that on my website, and a financial advisor arrived on my website and they saw the price for my weekend retreat, there's no way they're going to spend that. No way any financial advisor is ever going to work with me. So what I need to do is to bring financial advisors into my world. And it starts with the Facebook group that I know many of you are members of. I've got a separate marketing group for financial advisors. They are free, but you know as well as I do that the value in those groups is incredibly high. The overwhelming majority of that value in those groups is put there by other financial advisors. The next thing is I get financial advisors to go through one of my scorecards, one of my surveys. So you've seen my LinkedIn health check. I've got another scorecard, the financial advisor marketing mindset. You go through the marketing mindset scorecard, asks you questions about how you market yourself and how you market your business. At the end, it gives you a score, and then it gives you personalized tips for things that you could be considering. Advisors just love it. I've got some ebooks, and then I've got webinars, real books, workshops, coaching calls, and you can see that as we go up the scale, it's getting more expensive and potentially more valuable. The things in green are always free. The things in blue are usually free, but sometimes I charge for them. The things in black, I always charge for them. And the things in red are reassuringly expensive. That's my value ladder. It's very, very carefully thought through. But people ain't going to go on my weekend retreat or my 12-month one-to-one marketing coaching unless they've experienced the other stuff further down. It's a simple fact of life. So what could a financial advisor offer to bring people into their world? Well, here's just a whole bunch of different things. You could have your own weekend or overseas retreat or an inner circle. Really expensive, high-end, high-value, high-quality services that you could offer. But to get people to that point, you need to be thinking about offering other stuff as well. So some free stuff like an e-guide, maybe some tips book. Yeah, you could have a scorecard, okay? Ebooks, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Now, there's no way that most financial advisors are going to have all of that things. Most financial advisors are just going to think, okay, well, what is most appropriate within my strategy? So let's say, well, we could have a scorecard and an e-guide. Maybe we offer a podcast. Maybe we offer a seminar. But I like this idea of a weekend retreat. That sounds really cool. But, you don't even need to do that much. Let's cut out the podcast and the e-guide. Maybe start with a scorecard. Maybe offer some seminars or webinars. Then your main financial planning service that you offer, and maybe the weekend retreat. You don't tell anybody about the weekend retreat until they're a proper financial planning client. Trust me, some of your financial planning clients will be prepared to spend several £1,000s to go to a deep dive personal finance retreat that you might want to offer in a nice hotel with maybe some guest speakers, with some serious case study work. Some will pay for that. No question at all about that. So your value ladder can be really that short, okay? Scorecard, educational piece, financial planning, and then something on top. I mean, if you want, you could take out the weekend retreat, but just have something that brings people into your world so they get some value, real insights based on your expertise, so that it makes it much, much more likely that they will want more. Martin Bamford, some of you know Martin. He's been really, really good at this over the years. He's written 3 books. I know he's co-authored a couple more as well. Even today, he says that some clients that he gets, when they get in touch with him, say, I read your book a few years ago. So people have already experienced some of his expertise. Some of you know Catherine. Catherine is a rising star in the financial planning world, the financial coaching world. And she does some of these things like an online challenge. And she uses Facebook very, very well as well. Take our proven 5-day challenge. It will help you identify what kind of relationship you have with money, unlock self-limiting beliefs, give you 100% confidence and control with money. This is cool stuff. A lot of people want this stuff. And they'll go through this before they decide, yep, I love this. I love Catherine. I'm going to work with her. Many of you will know Pete Matthew, the godfather of the value ladder when it comes to financial planning. Yeah, his Meaningful Money initiatives, his podcast, his books, his online community. His YouTube channel, absolutely fantastic at this. And it's amazing. It works so well for him. It just works. Take it from me, take it from him. It works by having a value ladder where you offer value to people before you offer them your real service that you offer. So let's continue the history lesson. And I want to show you something amazing now. I'm going to introduce you to the most successful financial advisor I've ever met in 42 years working with financial advisors. And I met him in 1988 when Kylie was riding high in the charts. Die Hard was the film of the year. And on my patch, as I was a broker consultant, one of my financial advisors was a guy called Mick. I cannot remember his surname for the life of me, but he was a financial advisor. He lived in St. George's Hill in Weybridge. And basically St. George's Hill in Weybridge is where all the A-listers live, south of London. And his next door neighbour was Cliff Richard. 3 doors down was Tom Jones, and another few doors down was a mortgage advisor. Yeah, really successful. So, and the houses here cost millions and millions and millions. So this financial advisor was pretty successful. Just the fact that he lived there, he worked from home. It was just himself and his wife, and he basically worked with business owners in and around southwest London. Around Kingston, around New Malden, up and down the A3. But working with business owners was something that he deliberately chosen to do to attract his real target market. So he worked with business owners, and he would do their pensions and their mortgages and their savings and so on and so forth. And he would always say to the business owners, would it be possible if I could do a presentation to your colleagues, your staff, your team? And they would always say yes. And he would do, it used to be called worksite marketing. Some of you might remember that. He would do a presentation at their tea break or lunch break or after work, sometimes to 5 people, sometimes to 500 people on the shop floor. And he would do a sort of generic personal finance presentation. And he would do a thing called Mick's 1 Minute Money Quiz. So he would stand up in front of the staff, and this was his handout. He would give everybody a postcard, and he had 5 questions on it. Do you save regularly? How often do you worry about money? Are you likely to receive inheritance? Who's the main breadwinner? How much would your family have if your spouse died today? And he would say to everybody, he said, before I do my presentation, could everybody just sort of fill this in, put your name and address on it, answer the questions, and before I leave, I will pick one at random, and I'll give away a book token or a bottle of wine. And everybody would go, fine, absolutely, and they'd fill in the questions. He'd do his presentation, he would collect them all in, he would do his prize draw, and he would say, thanks very much. He would then go home with a briefcase full of postcards. As I said, sometimes 5, sometimes 500. And then, between him and his wife, he would then send a personalized letter to every single person who filled in one of these postcards. Personalized letter. There was no email that people were using back then. There was no internet that people were using back then. Everybody got a letter. And the letter would be based on the answers to the questions. Now, as a financial advisor watching this, looking at this postcard here, you would be able to see instantly from the answers to those 5 questions, you would be able to get a sort of reasonable snapshot of someone's financial position. You certainly wouldn't get their full financial position, but you get a snapshot. So what he would do is he would write to somebody, Dear Mr. Jones, or Dear Mrs. Jones, thanks for attending the presentation the other day. Hope you found it interesting. Sorry you didn't win the book token. Thanks for filling out my postcard. I noticed that you are on top of your savings, which is great. That will serve you in good stead for the future. You, like most people, worry from time to time about your money, and so on and so forth. And he would use some ready-made paragraphs because he knew what most people would answer. But the fact was, this letter was personalized. But so he would say, I see you're on top of your savings, which is great. That'll serve you well. But I noticed from one of the questions that, if you or if you or your husband or your wife were to die tonight, hit by a bus, you would have a bit of a financial problem. Is that a concern to you? Is that something you're worried about? And Mick used to tell me that 9 out of 10 people would say, yes, it'd be great if you could help us. When can you come round? And that is how he attracted his leads. He picked up data, answers to the questions. He followed up with a personalized letter, which made it much more likely that people would respond positively to him. They'd also seen him in the presentation as well, which was a kind of added bonus as well. But the fact that the follow-up was highly personalized was what made all the difference. And this is what made Mick the most successful financial advisor I have ever met in my 42-year career. One-man band working with his wife. Simple as that. Now, let's put it this way. What you're looking at there on the screen, by any other name, is a scorecard. Okay? It's a quiz. It's a survey. Everybody loves a quiz. Yeah? Scorecard marketing is perfect for any business that needs to get data to know and understand each prospect as an individual before they can become a client. So, who should be using a scorecard? Well, businesses that help clients to achieve a goal, fulfill a desire, or solve complex problems. Businesses that need data to get to know someone before they can work with them. Does this sound familiar? Businesses that make recommendations to clients based on data. Of course it sounds familiar. This is what financial advisors do. But most financial advisors don't get the data until we've gone through the fact find. If you had a scorecard, you kill several birds with one stone. You make your website something highly interactive. It gives some people something to do that you can get an instant piece of value and valuable insights based on the answer to the question. And you get that data before you've even met them, before you've even spoken to them. I mean, that is amazing. That is a game changer. That is a no-brainer. So if you've not heard of the concept of data-driven marketing, it's not new. Data-driven marketing is a method of marketing that uses data gathered from interactions to better understand their motivations, preferences, and behaviors. And there is proof that businesses that use this approach invariably enhance the customer experience, and that leads to greater revenue, greater profits, and greater value for the clients. It just works. I would say, though, scorecards don't work for businesses that sell objects, physical stuff like golf balls, cars, ski gear. Scorecards work for businesses that need to sell and promote a service, first and foremost. But what a scorecard also does is once somebody has been through it, the curiosity levels really, really do hit completely new levels. And if someone is presented on your website with the opportunity to take a quiz that will give them a score and insight based on some benchmark, they find it very, very difficult to resist. And let me give you a fairly extreme example. Let's imagine I'm a heart surgeon and, I'm starting to think about my retirement and I need to get my pension ducks in a row. And maybe I've got some investments, but they're not particularly tidy. I've just done them myself. And so I go searching for a financial planner and I type in financial planner for heart surgeons or something like that, or financial planner in Edinburgh, financial planner in Manchester, financial planner in London. What I want to find is a financial advisor website that speaks to me as a heart surgeon. And if I arrive on that website and the first thing I see is a picture of some old folk flying kites with their grandchildren, does that speak to me? It really doesn't. Come on, we know that, yeah? So why are we doing it? It does not speak to me. It gives me no value whatsoever. What would speak to me is something that says, are you a heart surgeon nearing retirement and you're concerned about your level of income? Take our quiz to see how ready for retirement you are. Now, me as the heart surgeon, there's just no way that I'm not going to take that quiz. No way that I'm not going to take it. I mean, even if there wasn't a quiz, even if there was something that says, are you a heart surgeon concerned about your income in retirement? Download our free guide for heart surgeons. Again, there's no way that I'm not going to give you my email address. It's a fair exchange of value. But a quiz just takes it to a whole different level. That's what I mean by speaking to people's concerns, speaking to people's needs. Now, you as financial advisors, you already know what the vast majority of people's concerns, problems, needs, worries are when they talk to you as a financial advisor. Wouldn't it be great, though, if you could find out some detail on that before you even speak to them? Wouldn't that be great? And then it just makes it so much more likely. So, simple fact of life, everyone loves a quiz, yeah? People find it difficult to resist taking a quiz or a personal assessment which gives them some unique insights into themselves, yeah? And people just love to benchmark themselves. We've all done these online quizzes, haven't we? Yeah, we've all done them. You get an instant assessment. You can compare yourself against other people's. You can compare your score against a standard score. You can acknowledge areas of weakness. You can find access to an expert if you want to take it further, get personalized help, and get a personalized plan. We've seen it all the time. Human beings aspire to do better. And they aspire to do better than they are doing now. And they aspire to do better if they're starting to panic about their retirement. Yeah, they're starting to worry about, have I got enough money? Will I have enough money to see through my retirement years? Will I have enough money if I need to go into a care home? Will I have enough money to pass on to my kids? It starts to panic a few people. And a simple quiz, but it's professionally done on your website, will get their attention. No question. And we've all done these online quizzes. How fit am I? How intelligent am I? How does my love life compare with everybody else? Is my business idea ready to pitch to the dragons? Am I a natural leader? How ready am I for retirement? Could I retire early? Simple online assessment tools. Now, with the exception of Mixed Postcard, this simply hasn't been available in the financial advice world up until now. I mean, if you were a financial advisor that could work your way around an Excel spreadsheet, you could probably create something and plug it into your website. But it's only been in recent time that there's been proprietary software that enables you to actually create something that looks really good. And there's a whole bunch of different, there are multiple examples now in different industries. So LinkedIn Health Check, how well you're using LinkedIn. Tax Refund Calculator. Are you paying more tax? Business Clarity. Do you know your next 6 moves to ensure your business grows over the next 12 months? Does your target market like and trust your business? Find out in 2 minutes. We see these things all over the place, but we virtually never see any for financial advisors. There are some financial advisors who are starting to promote the daylights out of theirs on Facebook, so you might have started to see 1 or 2 of these. You might have even tested one out just to get a sense of what they are. So what is a scorecard? Basically, it's a simple, attractive website survey with a series of yes, no, or multiple choice questions where people get an instant score on a personalized assessment. It gives you an opportunity for them to talk to you. Do you remember I said earlier, there are multiple ways for you and me to promote ourselves to people, but hardly any ways for people to tell us about them. And it's GDPR compliant. And it gives them a sort of red, amber, green traffic light system. It's custom branded. It gives them a traffic light score, gives them a dynamic report that's based on the score they actually get. They get instant personalized value, creates that curiosity. It's actually the completion of a fact find through the medium of a quiz. It gives you data-rich leads, although, as I said earlier, you can use it in a variety of other ways. You're able to understand each prospect in depth as an individual, and it enables you to pick and choose who you want to actually follow up. Now, I know that most financial advisors get their leads from a multitude of different sources. So a scorecard could also be a way of creating one central destination for them all. So if you get leads from an accountant, you could point them to your scorecard. If you get leads from Facebook advertising, you could point them to your scorecard. If you get leads, inquiries from referrals from existing clients, you could actually point them to your scorecard. Get them all on the same page. Give them all immediate value. Get some continuity across how you attract leads. The scorecard makes them much more likely to respond positively to you. So what it does, it improves the effectiveness of your marketing by putting value at its heart. It turns your web presence into something of real value. It creates that curiosity we've been talking about. It encourages visitors to genuinely engage with your website. It gives you high quality leads, we've said that, and it enables you to personalize your follow-up by understanding each prospect. This has not been possible before. Now, another reason why this works is that when somebody goes through your scorecard, they discover or they rediscover their pain points in their financial situation. And we all know that pain points get attention. Yeah? We've got a pain in our neck, we give it attention. We've got a pain in our leg, we give it attention. We go to the doctor or whatever. And that's why this works. Your scorecard will reveal people's pain points, and they will want to pay attention to that. If when you follow someone up after they've been through your scorecard, you are able to acknowledge their pain points, it makes it so much more likely that they're going to want to talk to you more. So to me, this is a game changer. As I said, I've been working with financial advisors for 42 years. I have never seen anything like this other than Mick's postcard. It is genuinely the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is bread, if not as a lead gen tool, as a tool that you can use in a variety of other ways. Suddenly, it makes your website start working. Suddenly, you can find and identify the really high quality leads. You can personalize your approach, and it positions you as an expert without even speaking to the person. And so this means when you do speak to them, the quality of the conversation you're going to be able to have now that you've got real data is absolutely game changing. So how do we make this work? So you have to think of who's my dream client, or who do I want to go through my scorecard? Who do I want data on? And then you will come up with a theme, and I'll show you some ideas for themes in a minute. You want to come up with some questions, and those questions will want to be grouped into categories. Somebody gets their overall score, and so there is a scoring mechanism behind all of this. In other words, each question, the answer to the question gets a score. I can show you how this works. I can show you behind the scenes if this is something that you're interested in. And people get an overall score, they get category scores, they get their report, which is personalized to them. There's obviously a call to action, but it also gives you the ability to personalize your follow-up. So potential themes for financial advisors, I mean, these are just some of them. You could call it the financial fitness scorecard, readiness for retirement. You see, you're not calling it a scorecard all the time. You're using analysis, calculator, assessment, quiz, diagnostic, health check, identifier, wealth clarity, wealth confidence, wealth discovery, money instincts, business protection. So you could focus it at the business market if you want to. I've got financial advisors who are who are doing scorecards just based on legacy behind their business, attitude to wealth, retirement clarity. You might have seen we've got some life planning. So it's up to you. As I said earlier, every financial advisor business is different. You will want to have a different theme. Readiness for retirement or readiness for life after work is quite popular, but it's entirely up to you. And you may already be thinking in your mind of a potential name or a potential theme for yours. The questions are presented nice and neatly. There's no clutter. So in my LinkedIn health check, this is one of the questions. What have you included in your experience section? Places I've worked, blah, blah, blah. And so it looks nice. It's nice and easy to go through. We design the questions in such a way that people don't have to think too hard. We don't want them to have to go and look stuff up. We want them to find it fun as well. Now, the more niche you can make your scorecard, the better. So, for example, if you're a financial planner that worked with dentists or heart surgeons or lawyers or accountants or business owners or chief executives, the more niche you can make it, the more powerful it actually becomes as well. The results page. This is what my LinkedIn Health Check results page looks like, and we can, all the colors can be changed. The whole thing can be branded around you and your corporate imagery. So they get their results. You can put a video on there. You can give them some freebies if you want to. You can put some testimonials. Yes, get your face on there. Do you remember I mentioned earlier the importance of having your face on there? Whatever you want to put onto your results page. But the real value for the person going through it is their score, their overall report, and their category scores and their category results as well. What you get is just phenomenal. Not only do you get their name and email address, they give you the phone number if you ask for it. You can ask them where they heard about it, but you get all of the answers to all of the questions, which is just phenomenal. The results give you data. Now, and that means you can look at people's answers, just like Mick did, the answers on the little postcard there. He can look at the answers and he can follow up in a highly personalized way. And you can design some of the questions in such a way, which are almost like leading questions. I've got one or two financial planners who are asking questions like, on their scorecard, have you ever heard of the concept of cash flow modeling? Yes, no, or maybe. And the people who put no, you can, in your part of your follow-up, you can say, I noticed that you mentioned you never heard of cash flow modeling. And, you can use that however you like. Basically, by giving people value through their score and their report, you're collecting data, but you've actually got your own market research engine. One thing you could do is you could put every one of your existing clients through your scorecard, and you could find out some insights about them that perhaps you don't already know. You might notice some trends. You might notice that business owners over the age of 50 tend to answer some of the questions one way, whereas people under the age of 50 answer them a different way. It gives you amazing data that you can use in a variety of different ways. But the most important bit of data, if you're using it as a lead gen tool, is you can say, do I really want this inquiry? So even though people are going through your scorecard, you don't necessarily want every inquiry. You'll look at the answers to the questions and you'll decide, yeah, I want that one. No, I don't want that one. No, I don't want that one. Yes, I want that. But regardless of what you do and which people you choose, you can put all of them onto your email newsletter list. Okay. It's GDPR compliant. You're able to do that. So you can build a marketing database. Some of those people who aren't necessarily right for you now might be right for you in a couple of years' time. Some of those people who are not right for you now might actually tell their friends and their colleagues about your scorecard. So you can see how this goes around in circles. So when you do follow people up, you can pick out various aspects of the answers to their questions. You can say, look, Mary, I saw that you're really good at this. You seem to be on top of your savings. That's going to stand you in good stead for the future. But I noticed that you've got a real problem if you were hit by a bus tonight, just like Mick was doing with his postcard. Is that something you'd like to work on? And because people have received this value, it makes it much, much more likely that they will want to engage further with you. One financial planner, Mike Legasic, some of you will know, one of the things he said is that by having this particular approach, he actually said to me, people feel that I'm some sort of mind reader. I seem to know so much about them. And he knows so much about them because they freely gave him the information without him even asking for that information. That's why I said it's like doing a fact find under the guise of a quiz. Prospects simply can't believe that you know them so well. And the beauty of this, by the fact that they all give you data, is that you can pick and choose who you want to work on, who you want to focus on, and you can segment people to really fine detail. You can use the scorecard in a whole variety of other different ways. I mean, you could use this for internal training. You could use it for internal recruitment. So, for example, I know one or two financial advisors who are creating a scorecard just for people. They're expanding quite rapidly, and they've got a scorecard that they put potential recruits go through. You can anonymize within the software dashboard. You can anonymize everybody who goes through it so that when somebody comes in, maybe for an interview, you could show them the results that people have given on when they've taken a scorecard, and you could say, how would you follow this person up? Based on the data that they've given you, how would you follow this person up? So you can use it in a variety of different ways. And the data that you collect through your scorecard can inform other communications, your newsletters, your seminars, your webinars, and anything else for that matter. There's a phenomenal amount of data coming through. You can export all of the data that people give you on the scorecard. You can anonymize that data. You can export it onto spreadsheets, and then you can, if you feel so inclined, if you want to get really geeky, you can then look at that data and then you can decide, well, how could I use this data in my newsletters? Am I noticing trends that are coming through? Maybe I could say that in my newsletter. It's also a great tool to build relationships with professional connections. As I said, I'm working with a couple of financial planners who get lots of their inquiries from local firms and accountants. So they are creating a co-branded scorecard to work with those professional connections so that all their leads and all their inquiries go through that. You also want to encourage your existing clients to share your scorecard URL. Each one has its own unique URL. A scorecard is a standalone website in its own right, but what most people do is they put a link from their main website to their scorecard. So you hand out that link to people as well. One or two financial advisors, I hadn't even thought of this, have told me that they believe that collecting data at this particular scale can potentially increase the value of their business in the future when they're looking to sell their business. You know, if somebody's looking to buy your business, and you're able to say, look at the level of data that we've got on our clients. Look at the level of data that of people who have been through our website. They will be very much more impressed with that than a business that doesn't have that kind of data as well. And there's more. As I said, I've always pitched scorecards as a lead gen tool. But there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could use your scorecard in your business in a variety of different ways. And you can see from that when you've got a tool, a multifaceted tool that you can use like this, this becomes a valuable asset of your business. So powerful. So if it is an asset of your business that is that good, and it is, you really need to promote it. And you need to be serious about how you promote it. One or two financial advisors telling me now they've ripped up their marketing strategy and they are putting their scorecard right at the heart and center of all the marketing they do. They are so proud of what they have created. They believe that it is so strong and so valuable that they are promoting it absolutely everywhere. So, you know, here's a few places. Obviously, a button on your website, or a dirty, great big button on your website that people can click. Give people something to do. Make it the only button that people can click on your website. Put a link to your scorecard in your email signature. Put it in your out of office email. Mention it in your answer phone, your telephone answer phone message. Promote it in your organic social media. Use your social media banners. Interestingly, I saw Phil Bray talking about the importance of your social media banners only a couple of days ago. Mention your scorecard, your quiz, your survey in your social media banners. Use paid social media. I've got several financial advisors who realize now that they can use Facebook advertising. Some are using LinkedIn advertising and other social media advertising. I notice a lot of mortgage brokers who I've got also later life lending advisors. Later life lending advisors just love scorecards, and they are chucking Facebook ads at this. If you're doing any other advertising, maybe in your local newspaper, local magazines, online listings, if you have referrals, tell every single existing client about this. If you have business introducers, professional connections, go and see them, show them this thing in action, and show them just how valuable it is as well. And maybe even talk about creating a co-branded scorecard with them. Some financial advisors are talking about having launch events for their scorecard. It could be a real life event in a hotel, as part of a seminar that they are doing, or an online Zoom event, or as part of their regular webinars. Think about this and put on a launch event. Maybe even get in a speaker to come as part of that, and really show this off. So if you are the sort of financial advisor that already puts on seminars and events and workshops, put on another seminar, event, workshop, and say, as part of your marketing, as part of our event, we're going to be showing off something brand new and really exciting that we're using in your business. You really don't want to miss this, okay? So there's just a few things and a few ways that you could be using it. Actually, there's much more. If you write blogs, put a link to your scorecard on at the end of every single blog that you ever write. If you write articles, even articles that appear in physical newspapers and magazines, or if you write articles on LinkedIn or somewhere like that, put a link to your scorecard every single time, literally every single one of them. If you do podcasts, mention your scorecard every single time in every episode. If you do videos, mention it in every single video, every single episode. If you do an email newsletter, and the overwhelming majority of financial advisors now have an email newsletter, if maybe it's monthly, I mean, it ought to be monthly as an absolute minimum, to be quite honest, as part of your client education piece. But in every single email newsletter that you send out from now on, dedicate a whole section of your newsletter to talk about your scorecard, to mention it. Use it as a tool to tell your existing clients about it. Encourage your existing clients to tell their friends about your scorecard. Put a link to your scorecard on your business cards. Have a QR code. A financial planner asked me only yesterday, could I create a QR code for this? Yes, create a QR code. Maybe put that on the back of your business card, or put a QR code on the front of your website so that people want to scan it. Yeah, great idea. Webinars, if you're doing webinars on a regular basis, mention your scorecard on every single webinar. For me to attract LinkedIn consultancy, webinars have been the single best tactic that I've used to attract people to go through my seminar, go through my scorecard. I'll show you that in a second. If you're doing seminars, you can use, you could even get people to go through your scorecard during your seminar as part of the seminar. If you're doing any PR, and you should be, if you're doing PR and you have a relationship with journalists, every press release that you send out, mention your QR code. If you're doing any interviews with media, in either in the industry press or the non-industry press, mention your scorecard. If you are using the new news page or Boring Money, any of these directory services, put a link to your scorecard. Every conversation you have with anybody in the pub, anyone who could potentially be a prospect, talk about your scorecard. Give them a business card with your scorecard mentioned on the back of it. Maybe even create some business cards that are solely dedicated to your scorecard. Yeah, so have a separate set of business cards. Maybe even some leaflets. I don't know. Let's get old school, yeah? So any other marketing that you are doing, include a link or messaging about your scorecard. Get it absolutely everywhere. For those that you are using Google My Business, highlight your scorecard in that as well. So get it onto Google as well. Using Vouched For, any of these online directories, get it in there. On LinkedIn alone, there are about 24 places that you could mention your scorecard. Obviously your personal profile. There are multiple parts of your LinkedIn profile that you could mention your scorecard, particularly the contact details, the website sections. You can have 3 websites in your website section of your LinkedIn profile. Most financial advisors have only got one, so here's an opportunity to put in a second. The big image banner right at the top, put a link to your scorecard. Are you concerned about your income in retirement? Find out with our quiz. How ready are you for retirement? Find out with our quiz. How ready are you for life after work? Take our quiz. You know, this sort of thing. Multiple parts of LinkedIn. where you can mention this. You can mention your scorecard in posts, in comments, in articles, in messages. As I said right at the beginning, every single person that I message or talk to on LinkedIn, I mention my LinkedIn scorecard. Every single person. The LinkedIn Stories feature, your company page, literally put it everywhere. Okay? Be proud of this thing. Stories, if you use the Stories feature on LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn's actually phasing out the Stories feature, but LinkedIn Stories, you've probably seen them on Instagram, you've probably seen them on Facebook, and you can create some really nice imagery, something like this. Could you unlock a more comfortable retirement? Find out in the next 5 minutes with our free assessment. How confident about your financial future? Take our quiz. Are you financially and emotionally ready for retirement? Find out in the next 5 minutes when you get your personalized score and report. Variety of different ways that you can do it. So starting to sum up now. Your scorecard gives instant value for your website visitors or anyone else for that matter, existing clients, yeah? It gives them a personalized report based on their personal situation. The report gives them proof of your expertise. It is a lead gen tool that enables you to choose who you follow up. It enables you to understand each prospect as an individual, and it enables you to follow up each person with highly personalized messaging. It worked for Mick with his postcard in 1988. It works for financial advisors in 2021 and beyond. That means no more reliance on marketing that either is running out of steam or that simply is creaking or that doesn't work anymore. Or it's a phenomenal tool to complement the marketing that you are already doing. Your site visitor pre-fills a fact find before you ever speak to them. How cool is that? It gives prospects exceptional value before you ever meet them. And suddenly your website will actually start working. It's amazing. So it's not just a marketing tool, but it's an asset of your business. Now, I mentioned earlier that the best source of leads for me right now is when I mention my scorecard during a webinar or a seminar or any one-to-many type situations. I've done multiple webinars during lockdown. I was very fortunate that all the conferences that I've been booked to speak at, none of them were cancelled. They just all went online. And what was amazing, I'll just give you one example. I did a 2-hour training marketing presentation on LinkedIn to financial advisors at Schroders Personal Wealth. And at the beginning of the presentation, I said, look, we're going to talk about LinkedIn in depth today. I'm going to show you how to use it. But at the end, I'm going to point you to my LinkedIn health check, which will tell you just how well you are using LinkedIn as an individual. You'll get a score. You'll get a personalized report. You'll get some tips on how to improve how you personally use LinkedIn, and you'll get a freebie as well. And I gave my presentation, and right at the end, as promised, I said, look, guys, really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around today. I really appreciate it. Here's the link to my LinkedIn health check. Go take it. Thanks for listening today. I really appreciate it. And we all waved, as you do at the end of Zoom calls, and I said goodbye. There were 200 people, 250 people, 250 financial advisors on this call. We said goodbye. I went to the kitchen, made a cup of coffee, came back 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, and I've got 97 leads in the first 12 minutes sitting in my inbox. 97 people went through my scorecard in the first 12 minutes alone. Over the next several days, these things just kept coming in. But basically what that meant was I could go through all of these. I could look at the scores. I could look at the answers to the questions. And just like Mick with his postcard, I can get a sense of which people I want to follow up. Simple as that. Okay. What if your scorecard's not working? And that sometimes happens. Let's be honest about that. Usually we can narrow it down to one of a few issues. Sometimes there's no clear theme. Sometimes people don't finish the scorecard. There's a way to deal with that. Sometimes the questions are too long, too complicated. Sometimes just the look and feel of it isn't right. And sometimes you just haven't created enough curiosity. Usually it's one of those things. We want the questions to be simple, not too long, not too complicated. We don't want people to have to think too hard about the questions. We certainly don't want people to stop and go and look stuff up. The questions must not be too intrusive, like, do you need an IFA? Okay. If you ask that question, you know people are going to stop. Don't ask how much money do you have invested. I've got one financial advisor in West London who is insistent on having a whole category of questions that says, how much have you got invested in equities? How much have you got invested in this? How much have you got? And I'm trying to say to him, that will not work. Okay, that's way too intrusive at this particular stage. These are questions more about people's feelings than anything else that we go. The important thing is, once you've got your scorecard up and running, or it's sort of good enough, you really want to test it. It's really important that you get good and honest and in-depth feedback from people. So you want to go through it yourself several times to pretending to be different types of prospect. And you want to make sure the questions feel about right. Is the scoring about right? Is the feedback about right? You want to get some family members to go through it as well. You'll get brutally honest feedback there. You want to get some close friends to go through it. You want to go to some existing clients, particularly clients that you get on really well with, and say, look, this is something that we're thinking about launching. I'd love you to just give it a go. Tell me what you think. Would you have worked with us if you'd gone through this? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What else should we ask in the questions? Are there some questions that you don't like? Just give us some brutal feedback, yeah? And bribe them. Give them an ethical bribe. Say, we'll send you a bottle of wine or a case of wine just for your time for doing this, because it would be really helpful. Because your existing clients will be the best judge of this, I promise you. And also go to some introducers as well and say, look, this is something we're doing. Could you go through it? Tell us what you think about it. Then put it live, okay? It's really important this thing is as good as you can possibly get it. It's just so good. So as I said right at the beginning, it's not just about lead generation. I've identified actually 13 different types of scorecards that financial planners could do, but the top 8 are lead gen and marketing, onboarding, a fact find filter, using it at the annual review, doing a co-brand with introducers, just a fun quiz type thing, using it to funnel younger clients into new services, but also just using it as a tool in your bag as a financial planner, that you can just periodically get out and use it with people. And so it just be really interesting. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Love to know more about your thinking on this, because some clients at the early stage of the relationship, maybe the relationship isn't quite gelling yet. Maybe you're not quite getting the answers. Maybe you've gotten a few time wasters. I've seen in our Facebook group recently. You do. I know financial advisors get a few time wasters from time to time. Put them through this, and just get a sense of who they are and what they're about. So a lot of financial advisors will say to me at this point, and I actually have had financial advisors say to me, how do I get my hands on one of this fast? Well, there's a variety of different ways. And here's just a couple of screenshots of financial advisors that have already got scorecards. I've taken their logos off so that you don't go copying them. Do it yourself. You can do it yourself with some help. We have some ready-made, off-the-shelf template scorecards. We've got, for example, readiness for retirement, readiness for life after work, financial life planning off the shelf. We've got a couple of later life lending ones that are off the shelf, so they're ready to roll. And you can have yours live in a couple of days, 3 days, and we customize it with your logo and so on and so forth. We give you a bit of training so you can then customize it more in depth if that's what you want to do. But there's also the one where we literally build it from scratch, right from the start, fully bespoke, customized to your business, customized questions, customized theme, customized categories, customized scoring mechanism, customized results. Takes 4 to 5 weeks to do, and that depends a little bit on you. We need a bit of help from you to do this. As I said, we can make it look pretty neat. Here's a couple of others that you can just see. Oh, here's our ready-made life planning one. Are you ready to accomplish your life's dreams? If you had more time or money, what would you do with your life? Take our free assessment. Find out if you're ready to live your life to the full. Get your personalized confidential report. Here's one. Mike won't mind me showing me this. Mike Legasic, he's really into behavioral economics, behavioral science, behavioral finance. So he's got his Saver behavior score, understand what drives your decision making and behavior around money, discover the next answer in the next 10 minutes. And this is what Mike says. As a financial planner, I've been using a digital scorecard on my website, been blown away at the client data which it creates. It's now an absolute must in my onboarding process. Here's the ready-made, how ready for retirement are you? And you can change any of the wording. A lot of financial advisors have been and say the word retirement has got possibly not the right connotation. It's still got, gold clock, gold watch type vibes that go with it. So some are changing it to how ready are you for life after work, Are you financially and emotionally ready for retirement? Find out in the next 10 minutes. This is a demonstration one. If you've not already been through one, just let me know and I'll give you the link to the this demonstration one, and you can have a go and you can see it in action for yourself. So there it is. In fact, there is the link, calvert-wealthscoreapp.com. That is a ready-made one. Just go through it, give it a go, see what you like, see if you like it, and you can have a play with it. So let's go back to Mick's postcard. To me, this is where it all started. Collect data. Follow up based on the data. Build relationships. And, Mick, this was it. This made him the most successful financial advisor I've ever met. And you could do exactly the same thing. You could have a scorecard with 10, 15 questions. You could have a scorecard with 20 to 40 questions. The fact is, you're giving value, you're collecting data, and it's enabling you to follow up with highly personalized messaging. But you can use that data in a whole bunch of different ways in your business. Now, if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to take them. Here is my email address, philip@financialadvice.marketing. If you would like a chat about how you could use this, if you'd like to see behind the scenes of how the software works, if you want to look at the pricing, more than happy to do that. Just drop me a line. We'll put half an hour in the diary, and I can show you behind the scenes how it all works and how you can get one of these things working for you. As I said, if you had one of the off-the-shelf ones, you can be live with this thing in 2 to 3 days. If you want a fully bespoke one, built just for you, 3 to 5 weeks, something like that. So I hope you found this useful today. I hope you've enjoyed looking at how marketing is changing as well. We've really got to be on top of that. Let's not just assume that just because something has been working well for us, that it will continue to work well for us. Let's get on top of our strategy. Let's think much more strategically about how we go out looking for our ideal clients. And let's make our online presence, whether that's our website or our social media or our LinkedIn profile or anything else for that matter, let's make it work much, much harder and much, much smarter for us. So thank you again. My name is Phil Calvert. I've really enjoyed presenting this for you today, and I hope you've got a lot of value out of it. As I said, please ask questions. In the meantime, really appreciate your time today. I know it's been quite a long one, but I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Thanks a lot, and see you again soon.